meeting of June 16th, 2022. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Town of Burlington will be holding the June 16th, 2022 meeting of the Planning Board as a hybrid meeting due to the current state of emergency due to the COVID-19 virus. As such, the Governor issued an executive order on March 12th, 2020, authorizing remote meetings under General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20.
Those of you looking to participate remotely can do so via the following. You can go to the townofburlington.webex.com. The meeting number is 2340-048-2654, and you can join us by phone via WebEx using the number 617-315-0704. The meeting is also being broadcast on the BCAT government channel, which you can find on Comcast 99, RCN 15, and Verizon 41. It's also being streamed on the BCAT Live on Facebook Live via the BCAT government Facebook page. The public will be able to make comments during the hearing, during the time for public comments. Questions can be asked via WebEx and the WebEx Q&A function. All persons wishing to ask a question must identify themselves before speaking.
Thank you. Now that we have a full board, would somebody like to make a motion to reorganize, please?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to reorganize the officers of the Planning Board as outlined in Section 2.1 of the Planning Board Procedural Rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
I would like to make a motion to nominate Brenda Rappaport as our chair.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. May I have a motion for vice chair, please?
I make a motion, Barbara LaRue for vice chair.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
I would further like to make a motion, Madam Chair, to nominate Bill Gaffney as our clerk.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay.
All right.
Moving on to the subcommittees and or commissions. So the sculptural park,
Do we need to, okay, so I'd like to make a motion to appoint members to subcommittees and or commissions.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay. So do we have a nomination for sculptural park committee? Or would somebody like to volunteer for that?
Yes, I nominate. Oh, are you raising your hand because you want to make a
No,
nomination?
I want you to nominate me.
Well, that was why I was doing this.
Okay.
I nominate Barbara LaRue for the Sculpture Park Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, Recreation Commission.
Bill, are you able to, oh, sorry.
No,
Are
go
you
ahead,
interested?
Go
I
ahead.
didn't
you're
know if Bill wanted to
interested,
continue.
I'm happy to continue, but if there's anyone else that's interested,
Anyone else?
No.
All right, then I will nominate Bill to be on the Recreation Commission.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Transportation Committee.
Who's it currently on?
I am. I'll nominate myself.
Second.
Wait a minute, I nominate you.
Oh, thank you very much.
I second that.
Great, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Housing Partnership Committee.
Who's
I'd like to
currently Barbara's
nominate
currently?
Tony N for Housing Partnership Committee.
Yes.
Second.
Good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Economic Development Committee, I'd like to stay on this if possible.
I nominate.
Nominated.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, zoning bylaw?
Who's currently on zoning bylaw?
I'm afraid I am too.
Are you willing to
I'm willing
continue?
to stay if nobody else wants.
Do you want it?
Sure.
Yeah, then,
All right, I nominate Ernie for zoning bylaw review committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Ernie, you're in.
Thank you.
Land Use Committee.
Do we ever, I didn't think we ever.
Do we have,
Don't have any-
currently have one?
On land use?
Paul Raymond had been our nomination. I'm not sure if we officially appointed last year.
I mean, I'll take it if.
All right,
yeah.
I'll nominate Joe and Pemba for Land Use Committee.
All right.
Okay, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, with that being said, I am not able to stay on tonight, but Barbara is going to take the reins as chair for this evening for me, which I incredibly appreciate. And that is that for me for the evening, folks.
Thanks, Brenda.
That's all.
All right, take care, guys, bye-bye.
All right, feel better.
Feel better.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Okay, we have some items being continued off our agenda this evening. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to take items A, J, K, W, X, Y, Z, and 8A. We were in out of order for discussion purposes.
Second. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay. I'm going to read these in a truncated version, if that's okay?
Sounds
That's
good.
why they're highlighted in bold.
Okay, great. All of the following items are for 22 Terry Avenue. AP Terry LLC is the applicant. Item J is a continued public hearing for section 4.2.7.1, light manufacturing or processing plants, prototype manufacturing. K is a continued public hearing, section 4.2.7.1.1, research and development. Item W is a continued public hearing, section 4.2.7.4, laboratories engaged in research, experimental and testing activities, including but not limited to the fields of chemistry, electronics, engineering, geology, non-biologic medicine, and physics.
Just say a special permit and then read it. Rather than, public hearing, like,
Oh, okay, all of those were special permits?
all of those are special permits, yeah.
And item X is also a special permit pursuant to section 4.2.7.4.1, life science laboratories engaged in research, prototype manufacture, experimental and testing activities included but not limited to the fields of pharmaceuticals, biomedical technologies and engineering, life systems technologies, environmental and biomedical devices, biosafety level 4, laboratories as defined by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are prohibited in Burlington. Item Y is a special permit pursuant to section 4.2.7.4.2, life science laboratories engaged in the manufacture of life science technologies and medicines for commercial production to the market, including but not limited to the fields of pharmaceuticals, biomedical technologies and engineering, life systems technologies, environmental, biomedical devices, and biosafety level 4 laboratories as defined by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are prohibited in Burlington. Item Z is a special permit pursuant to section 4.2.7.9, hazardous and toxic materials and chemicals used storage, transport, disposal, or discharge. Item AA, 7AA, is a special permit pursuant to section 4.2.7.11, hazardous and toxic materials, chemicals used storage, transport, disposal, or discharge of the zoning bylaws. And once again, they are all for 22 Terry Avenue. AP Terry LLC is the applicant.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to continue these items to the planning board meeting of July 21st, 2022, as requested by the applicant's attorney.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to take items A1 out of order for discussion purposes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Item 8L is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 4.3.2.23.2, solar energy systems ground-mounted of the zoning bylaws, 3 September Lane. Sunrun Installation Services is the applicant.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to continue this item to the planning board meeting of July 21st, 2022, as request of the applicant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, very good. Thank you for your patience for all of that. Next on our agenda is citizens' time. If there is anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak on an item that is not on our current agenda, please identify yourself.
I don't see anybody online, Madam Chair.
Okay? Seeing no one, we will continue on to announcements.
Sure. Sure. So, Community Shredding Day is June 18th, so it's this Saturday from 9 to 2 in the Pocket Park. So that's the area next to Sweet Ginger and True North. And so you can bring all your shreddable items, and this is being sponsored by the Town Clerk's Office. Juneteenth is being observed on June 20th, so that's this Monday, and town offices will be closed. The MBTA Better Bus Regional Meeting. So the MBTA is, post-pandemic, looking at bus routes and changing bus routes. So that is happening on June 22nd at 6 p.m. They're talking about kind of changing Route 354, which was the express route into Boston. So if you ride that bus and when you want your voice heard, come to it. So that will be up on the town calendar tomorrow. And so if anybody is interested, it's, this is our chance to get our voices heard for that. Independence Day, July 4th. I can't believe we're coming up into 4th of July. All town offices will be closed. And then the Sculpture Park Committee is meeting July 5th at 4 p.m. via WebEx.
And just to interject on the Better Bus Project, it is one of our express buses, so it does definitely affect our ability of employees to get to Burlington. So if anyone is listening, or anyone who has employees that would affect, just be sure to make sure our voices get heard to the MBTA.
Thank you.
Makes sense.
And I would like to add also that tomorrow, sometime between 12 noon and 1 p.m., the first new sculpture of the 22 to 24 installations will be delivered to the sculpture park, and everyone is welcome to come and watch, as long as you stay out of the way. It's the very first of our new installations, so it's an exciting time, and we hope everyone will come and look. If not tomorrow, come take a visit over the weekend. Any other members with announcements? Ernie?
Yeah, just one quick thing. BCAT's annual meeting the meeting at which they present awards will be held on, I'm sorry, hang on just a minute. Boy, oh boy. I can do that. On June 24th, June 24th at the high school.
Okay.
Time, I'm not quite sure. I believe it's 6 o'clock, but I could be wrong.
All right, thank you. Any other members with announcements?
I just wanted to make a comment on the sculpture park. That is really nice. Have you seen it with the birds and so forth there? We'll go up and take.
At the Pocket Park, yes.
Yeah, the Pocket Park.
That's a new sculpture that
Yes.
just arrived in the Pocket Park, which is lots of fun, yeah. I love it. It's a great new piece. Okay, we do not have any legal notices, non-approvals, or administrative matters, so we're moving on to matters of appointment. May I have a motion?
Want a motion to take items 8A through 8G together for discussion purposes? Is that what you, yep.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 8A is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to Section 6.1.2.1, non-conforming structures and premises of the zoning bylaws, 1 Burlington Mall Road, Pyramid Burlington Management LLC, on behalf of RB Hotel Burlington LLC is the applicant. And the next 6 items are all for Pyramid Burlington Management LLC on behalf of RB Hotel Burlington LLC. Item B is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a site plan, 1 Burlington Mall Road. Item C is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to Section 4.2.7.4.2, life science laboratories engaged in the manufacture of life science technologies and medicines for commercial production to the market, included but not limited to the fields of pharmaceutical, biomedical technologies and engineering, life systems technologies, environmental biomedical devices, biosafety level 4 laboratories as defined by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention are prohibited in Burlington of the zoning bylaws, 1 Burlington Mall Road. Lincoln Property Company is the applicant, so I'm correcting myself there, different applicant. Item D is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to Section 4.2.7.9, hazardous and toxic materials and chemicals used storage, transport, disposal, or discharge of the zoning bylaws, 1 Burlington Mall Road, Lincoln Property Company is the applicant. Item E is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to Section 4.2.7.12, generation or storage of hazardous waste in excess of the volumes classified as a very small quantity generator of the zoning bylaws, 1 Burlington Mall Road, Lincoln Property Company is the applicant. Item F is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to Section 4.3.2.15, storage and disposal of oils and fuels and petroleum products of the zoning bylaws, 1 Burlington Mall Road, Lincoln Property Company is the applicant. And item G is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a site plan, 1 Burlington Mall Road, Lincoln Property Group is the applicant. Welcome. Who is here representing this project?
Good evening, Madam Chair. For the record, Robert Buckley, Reman Bronstein. I'm here representing the hotel group, and I have Spiro Cantonis, who is the Senior Vice President of the applicant in the hotel management group. Mark Wixford from Bowler is our site civil for both. I have my colleague Paul Alfred, who's representing Lincoln Property Group, and Jim Noonan from the Lincoln Property Group. At the last hearing, we gave an overview of the overall concept that was being pursued, primarily with respect to the lower parking area that is slated for development. I think that this evening, what we would like to do, because I think it's one of the major issues that should be understood, and we've been working with staff on this, is to understand how the parking would work, the shared parking. And in order to do so, I think it's important to have an understanding of how the hotel operates, both in the past and what they see now and going forward. So I'd like to turn it over to Sparrow, who can give you the historical context of what was the genesis for this idea and how we feel confident that will work, and then we'll go through the plans.
There's a game tonight, but don't let that change the speed of your presentation.
I'll try not to put you all to sleep as well, talking about parking as well. But thanks, Bob. My name is Spiro Cantonis. I'm a Senior Vice President for Pyramid Hotel Group. Pyramid has been the hotel manager and ownership operating partner at the Marriott dating back to 2011. So we've been in the hotel day-to-day for going on 11 years at this point in time. We've prepared a short presentation. Hard copies are being passed out currently, but before we go through the slides, I just want to reiterate that the hotel is obviously very supportive of Lincoln's plan and of the life science development. We view this as a strong enhancement for the hotel, both from a perspective of the incremental demand, both from restaurant and meeting space demand, as well as improving the overall appeal of our property in the corner there at Mall Road, and all of which will better position the hotel to win business in the future. And before we sort of walk through some of these pages here, I just want to emphasize that the hotel would not be going down this path with Lincoln on the life science development if we felt it would jeopardize our ability to meet the operational needs of our guests as well as our employees. So on that note, I'm going to segue over to, you're going to pull it up as well, the 5-page presentation in front of you. And the first slide that we're going to start with is our current site plan. Our property totals 15 acres total, which includes our hotel of 418 rooms right there in the middle. You can see the footprint of the hotel. And we have 753 spaces, 325 in the front lot, 48 in the side lot, 60 in the back lot, and 320 spaces in the lower lot. And that's where the life science development would be occurring.
Excuse me for a minute, could you just orient that plan? Where's Mall Road, where's Cambridge Street?
Right. So Mall Road is right there where you see the cursor.
Okay, thank you.
And then let's just show where the stoplight and the entrance area to the hotel comes in right there. And so the main parking lot right out in front of the hotel is the 325 spaces. And then the side lot, 48 spaces, our rear lot, 60. And then we have 320 in that upper right-hand corner, which is what we're calling the lower lot. And so to just sort of set the table here a little bit, the lower lot is surplus parking for the hotel. We use it a couple times a year, exclusively on the weekends. And when we do utilize it, we're using 10 or 15 spaces and not 320 spaces. We currently lease out that lower lot to another user for parking purposes. And midweek, they have upwards of 250 plus parking spaces that they use that lower lot for. Before we go to the next page, the one last point here, the 433 parking spaces, which are in the 3 adjacent lots to the hotel, that's the 325, the 48, and the 60, that 433 is more than enough to support the hotel. If we go to the next page, I'll move through this pretty quickly, but these tables illustrate the daily maximum of parked vehicles at our hotel from January through May of this year. The hotel does daily counts multiple times a day during peak parking demand hours. And you can see in January, we were at 213 spaces was the daily max. February, 228. March, 336. April, 326. And then May was 320 spaces. And so these numbers you can see are well under the 433 spaces in the hotel's main lots directly adjacent to it. And the last point I want to make here is that our parking usage is actually highest on the weekends, and that's due to our customer profile, which shifts between midweek and weekend. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. And so the hotel in Lincoln, we've developed a shared parking plan to ensure that the operational needs for each user, hotel, and life science are appropriately met. And really the foundation of that is that each of these two different uses have very compatible parking user patterns. And so the life science, their parking demand is primarily 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., whereas the hotel usage is more 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And so this shared parking plan really has 3 different components to it. There's a weekday component, there's a weeknight, and then there's a weekend component. And so this page here illustrates the weekday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. structure. And you can see in the box where the cursor's at, for 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., the hotel will have 308 spaces consisting of the areas in blue, the 200, the 48, and the 60. And the lab will have 247 total parking spaces, the 122 plus the 125. And so during this period for the hotel, this is our lowest demand period, is during the day. The majority of our guests leave the hotel between 7, 8 a.m. in the morning, and they don't return until 5:30 in the afternoon. And if you pass by our hotel during the week, midday, it's pretty much an empty parking lot in the main lot right out in front of the hotel. And so this is the first component, which is the weekday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Shared parking plan. If you shift to the next page, this is the weeknight, 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. shared parking plan. This is obviously off hours for the life science building. They would have 122 parking spaces during this time period, and the hotel would have 433 spaces, which is more than sufficient for our needs. Our customer profile midweek is primarily business transient and corporate group guests. And these, by and large, are fly-in customers that are taking a taxi or an Uber from the airport to the hotel and then using our hotel shuttle in the mornings to basically visit local corporations in Burlington, whether it's Keurig, Oracle, Microsoft, et cetera. And then a lot of our restaurant demand midweek comes from in-house guests at the hotel. And so 433 spaces, weeknight, 6 p.m. to 8 a.m., and the lab would have 122 spaces, together a grand total of 555 spaces. Last slide to review is the weekend and special event shared parking plan. Our parking demand is actually highest on weekends, and that's because of our leisure guests and, our social and recreational groups at the hotel. And this is also when we have many of our big community events. So the Chamber of Commerce annual gala, that's on a weekend. And so that's when we really hit peak parking demand for the hotel. And so in this scenario, you can see that the hotel would have access to 526 parking spaces, and the lab would have the 29 parking spaces. And in the event, for some of these special events, a couple times a year, there's a rare occasion where you need more parking than this. We have the ability to do valet stacked parking in both the rear lot and the side lot that would generate an additional 40 to 50 parking spaces as well. So that's the shared parking and the parking overview from the hotel. As Bob has mentioned, we view this as a strong enhancement for the hotel. We're long-term owners and operators of this hotel. And, obviously it's been a surface parking lot for close to 40 years right now. So we're excited about this opportunity, as well as Lincoln being involved with the project.
Okay, thank you. Staff, did you have anything you wanted to add?
We had this meeting last week to review this information for this meeting, and I just wanted to have the applicant expound a little bit, because it was one of our major questions with the averages taken in January of 2022, and just understanding the hospitality business and pre-pandemic, post-pandemic levels. So it was a huge piece of understanding to me as to really how much the hotel has come back in business to pre-levels, and I'd really like that story to be told a little bit to understand and color the understanding of these numbers.
Sure. So as you can see from these tables, there is seasonality to the lodging demand in the greater Boston market. And so in January and February, those numbers are somewhat depressed because of the seasonality of lodging demand. But our March, April, and May, both parking demand as well as hotel overall occupancy is right back towards the 2018, 2019 demand levels. Really, last fall is where demand really turned the corner within the industry. And so several of those weeks in April and May, midweek, the hotel is hitting 90% occupancy. It's once again the customer profile that we have with both business transient and corporate group. Those are, the majority are fly-in customers who don't bring a vehicle to the hotel, and they use the hotel shuttle, which goes within a 3-4 mile radius of the hotel. And so if these numbers were from 2020 or from 2021, it would obviously be a different story, but we're obviously excited for it to be 2022 in the hotel industry, because it's been a rough go over the last 24 months.
Thank you. Anything else, staff?
No, I think this presentation on parking is important, and we're still evaluating some other aspects, and we will certainly have comments as we continue on.
Okay. So any board members with questions regarding this parking plan? Bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The parking plan, so I guess one of my questions is, will you still be holding ballroom functions during the day?
Yes, we will, both midweek and on the weekends, but that corporate group profile during the week is historically 50 to 150 sized groups. And, just, we have a group in this week where A Priori Technologies, 100-person group, 80% of them are fly-in customers that don't have a vehicle need, at the hotel. So that profile, whether it's business transient, midweek, or corporate group, their parking demand is not a one-to-one correlation.
So my experience there, where I've gone from a corporate function there during the day, and since we're local, everybody drove the car. And it's been since you've been there, since the last 11 years. And we had to park, a lot of us actually had to park in the lower lot. So, and it was for the full ballroom, so it was probably a couple of hundred people, maybe, 200-300 people. And so you had, not enough that you're gonna double up there with the valet. We had, a lot of people down that lower lot. So I'm trying to figure out would you then limit your corporate functions in the ballroom to a certain number then, let's say 100 people or something like that?
No, we do not feel that this framework would at any manner limit our ability, whether it's with corporate groups in market or with community events, impact our ability to host those functions. And I understand that maybe your experience or others, and really it's half dozen times a year where there's that need to park in the lower lot. But there's a framework in place here where we can coordinate with the life science developer, and we have, if you go to the last slide here, upwards of 526 parking spaces that we have the ability to access. And a lot of those big community social events aren't happening until the evening timeframe.
I'm talking about one during the day, a couple hundred people. So would you tell the life science people not to come in that day so they get their spots, or how would you think you'd do that?
We have the 300, if you go under the scenario that you're highlighting, which is that first one, we have 308 parking spaces to service that group. Because keep in mind, our check-in time is 3 p.m., our checkout time is 11 a.m. And so, a lot of times during the day, the hotel guests are not at the hotel. But to your point, when you do have a corporate group function, they're going to be at the hotel.
And how many employees do you typically have during the day there?
Keep in mind, we have 3 shifts over the course of a day, and typically it's around 30 employees.
Okay. And could you just expand a little bit how you talked about you leased out your lower lot? Maybe to staff, did they come before the board on that?
No.
Okay. Should they have? Leasing out a lower lot, parking lot, like school buses and things like that we have in other places?
Similar to the mall, I would say yes. I haven't looked at the original permit of the Marriott to see if there was accommodations there. But
Okay, because then there's traffic flow and things like that. And I guess that,
I agree.
with regard to the parking, with a couple of hundred cars now going into a spot where historically, you have people coming out of that main kind of half-moon parking lot and across, and that's fairly dangerous, but, so now you're going to be putting in a couple of cars in and out of that, and I understand the timing differences there, so that's just my couple of comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other board members with questions? Joe?
I just have one. I know, I think you've been talking basically in a practical sense, practically, this is what happens. What about a hypothetical? the actual capacity, if it was full, if every function hall was full, if every room was full. Do you have memberships at all to the pool and health club in there, or?
We actually used to, but we got rid of those memberships pre-COVID, 2019
So
timeframe.
not any longer, and that's not going to start up anytime soon?
No, we do not foresee that starting up again.
So, yeah, so I guess hypothetically, if every room was at capacity and every, what are you looking at under those terms? And I understand it's hard to tell because sometimes, two people may come in a car to a function, and so you can't really use the capacity as the number of vehicles that will be coming in there. What do you anticipate the perfect storm to be?
Well, we have 418 rooms in the hotel. A perfect storm is you sell out all 418 rooms, and everyone is driving a car that's occupying the hotel, and that's just from our 11 years of operating this hotel. It's much more a 0.5 to 0.6 correlation, so that would have to just completely go out of whack. And then, the large community events that this hotel has hosted over the last 10, 12 years has predominantly been on the weekends. And given the compatible parking patterns between a life science employee and a hotel guest, we do not feel that there's friction there. And in our minds, as sort of a long-term owner and operator of this hotel, the hotel guest experience is paramount. That comes first, no doubt about it.
So you have the ability to anticipate and make adjustments, is what you're saying?
Yes,
So
yes.
Functions, things like that.
So you don't have to book all your function rooms if you know your hotel's booked.
Right. Or,
Right.
or vice versa, yeah. I guess that's pretty much my question as far as the traffic goes. Well, as far as the traffic numbers go, I do have some questions on the pattern, but that's, I'm not sure we're,
Is that for another day, or are we addressing patterns tonight, traffic patterns?
In terms of like traffic lights?
the pattern,
the site.
the
If
internal
you-
pattern of the.
Yeah, if you want to talk about kind of the internal drive, we could talk about it tonight. Really, the focus of tonight was just to understand having a single site, having 2 users, and really understanding the operations at the hotel and being secure that we're not disrupting the operations of the, if we're
With
splitting a lot,
numbers.
the direct
Yeah.
abutter,
Yep.
which is part of this application as well. But really, what is that dynamic and can it work? And that's primarily the conversation. They will be continuing. There will be more conversation about circulation and transportation and drainage and stormwater as well. But if you have any, we don't have another meeting until July 21st. So if there's a comment or additional information you'd like to see in the future, I certainly would recommend to make that comment tonight.
Okay. Tony Ann, did you have a question?
I had one question on the last exhibit, where you said life science is gonna use the 29 spaces, and you would give the Marriott the other 93 if they had a function. That's based solely on the weekend. What if they ever had anything during the week? Could they accommodate that, or is that just solely based on the weekend?
It's weekend as well as a special event at the hotel
Special.
outside of office hours for the life science employees. So after 6 PM, to answer your question, midweek.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Paul?
Is there a steep driveway that goes from the hotel down to the lower parking lot?
Yes.
I was gonna say, I sometimes remember things now that never happened, but I can recall being shuttled up. There was an event, and they had a shuttle bus, and they brought us up to the hotel and so forth, because now it'd be a week for me to walk up that. So I don't know if they use that accommodation now, but that's certainly, available in an event that had that many people.
So if you had events like that where you knew there was going to be parking down near the lab space building, would you be providing shuttle service up to the hotel?
that would be an option, obviously, for guests, as well as we would encourage, our employees to park in the furthest spaces so that the guest experience is more optimal and those spaces are available, and so that, guests aren't having to make that walk up the hill.
Paul, is that all?
That's it.
Ernie?
Yes, just one comment. I wonder if you have, or could you maybe explore the option, if in a perfect storm parking situation, that Burlington Woods could help you out? Or have you looked into that or thought about that or anything?
That's obviously something that we could explore. There are several adjacent office and lab users,
Yep.
basically on all directions, or 3 directions of the hotel. And so that's certainly during these special events, which, to your point earlier, we know 3 months, 6 months, 9 months ahead of time, and we can put a plan into place to make sure that there isn't the impact.
Yep. Rather than somehow or another figure out how to build more parking for that 2 or 3 times a year thing, I personally would prefer to see some shared parking type thing.
Okay, thank you, Ernie. I just have one comment. I was happy to hear that you do valet parking down in the side and back lots, and would just say that we don't ever want to see it in the front of the building close to the door. Thank you. Are there any members of the audience, first in the room, who would like to speak on this matter? Please come forward and identify yourself for the record. If one of you gentlemen could make room for him, I'd
Sure.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Sunil Prajapati. I am a long-term resident of Burlington town, and I'm just as a town citizen, I want to say that I'm excited to hear that a life science park is coming to the town. It brings a lot of biotech jobs, bioinformatics, drug discovery. I have just one question: how many jobs are we expecting in the life science park? Okay. Thank you.
So for the record, so for the record, for those that can't hear, they're still investigating that,
Okay.
depending upon who the user would be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the room? Seeing no one, is there anyone online who would like to ask a question on this matter?
I am seeing no one, madam.
Okay, then I think I am ready for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to continue this matter to the,
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Mr. Buckley, what
Can I
would you like
just,
to add?
Yep.
Could I just make a comment, setting the stage for what we intend to do in the interim? So, first of all, I think Sparrow is correct, that we've spent a lot of time answering Joe's question, which is if that perfect storm were to occur, the agreement will provide that, as Sparrow indicated, there's usually 2 or 3 months of lead time for those events. So the agreement will require them to coordinate that, and we actually discussed seeking off-site parking if necessary. That being said, I want the board to know that since our last meeting, we spent a significant amount of time looking at the architectural issues that were raised with respect to the screening. We were going to try to present some design ideas this evening, but I think it would probably be more prudent to wait because they're still being flushed out, and rather than have someone react negatively, like the sculpture park, we want to finalize it. But we did take the comments that were made, and some of them are very creative, that the architect has worked on. And at the next meeting, we'd like to talk about site circulation and all the usual items, the drainage, the screening, and how we've gone along on that issue, and any other questions that the board may have.
Okay, thank
So
you.
just want to set the tone, set the expectations.
Thank you,
And
Attorney
I
Buckley.
apologize, Paul.
Madam Vice Chair, I don't know, we are about to roll into summer schedule. I'm not sure for a project like this, it is a little bit more complex if we potentially want to at least appoint a subcommittee, if it's an opportunity to talk
Get
about
more
a few
done before the next meeting.
items between the next meeting and or August.
Right.
I think it might be beneficial at least to appoint one, and then we can certainly, it's a public meeting.
Sure, time-wise, do you
We'd
think,
welcome that opportunity, would make ourselves available.
are there any members who would like to volunteer to be on that subcommittee?
Sure.
Ernie? All right, if no one else wants it, I'll do it. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll try to get something between now and the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to continue this matter to the planning board meeting of July 21st, 2020.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, item H is a public hearing, application for approval of a site plan, 3 Forbes Avenue, Sunil Prajapati. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, and I apologize if I have not. That is the applicant. Welcome. So please identify yourself for the record, and then I will learn how to correctly pronounce your name as well.
My name is Sunil Prajapati,
Prajapati.
and I am the
Thank
owner
you.
of the building, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, why don't you tell us about what you're doing?
Okay, so we have already constructed a house. It needs to be like recognized as a two-family house. So we work with building department, and building department has approved it as a two-family house. And then we also work with Board of Appeal, the zoning Board of Appeal. They also have approved it as a two-family house, but we also need an approval from the planning department. That's what brings us here.
Okay, thank you. Planning, if the staff, if you could for a moment sort of just explain for the public why this is coming to planning, because it's not something we normally see.
Actually, the first.
Yes.
Since 2005, when we enacted this bylaw. So this property sits, as you can see from here, and Liz will pass out as well as some information, but as you can see from the screen, it's the property one in from the corner of Forbes and Cambridge Street. When we did the overlay, right across from this, going down the hill, is Rockland Trust. So we kind of tried to keep the same level of distance behind, so that's why there's your 2 in. Right here, the property further down Forbes is out of the overlay and is residential. So this is in the town center overlay. Town center overlay does allow for 2 and 3 family homes with a site plan approval from the planning board. So they are by right use with site plan approval. This, as I understand, I haven't been directly involved in the Board of Appeals and Building Department process, but began as a home with an in-law as things developed through those processes and conversations. It was, the applicant wanted to move to have it as a 2-family dwelling, which is allowed in this district, again, with site plan approval by this board. So that is why we're here, and that's what the site plan approval that we're looking at. As you can see, the home has been constructed, and the town center, anyway, it is within the town center. They do have a stone wall that was constructed. So at this point, where it started and where we are at, it's, anyway, I think if there's some comments, about kind of curb appeal and some other things, I welcome those comments. And anything else, but anyway.
The only thing I'd like to add is that, part of one of the things that we talk about in the town center is providing a diverse mix of housing. And this is kind of like the first 2-family house that we've permitted. So there's progress, and I know working with the housing partnership, we're looking for adding diverse mixes of houses and smaller multifamily properties. So just want to throw that in there for food for thought.
Okay, thank you. This is an unusual thing for our board to consider, so I'm going to do something unusual. And before I turn it over to the board, I would like to find out if there are any neighbors or abutters in the audience, either online or in the room. Okay, seeing none, and I can assume therefore that staff has not received any
We have not heard.
correspondence. Okay, very good.
And they have been notified.
They have, yeah,
Okay.
everybody's been notified and it's gone through the
Okay.
regular process.
Thank you. So, any board members with questions?
Did I hear the term smaller? used somewhere during this conversation?
I did say that it's smaller multifamily projects. I did,
Yes.
instead of, we have a lot of large multifamily buildings in the town, and this is a smaller multifamily, so it adds a different type of housing that we don't usually see.
Yeah, well, it certainly changes the look of the house, doesn't it? You get the little house attached and this huge, to me, it almost looks like a barn. There's no entrance in the front, so you're looking at the driveways and then windows, windows, windows. And I suppose if they have a right to do that, they can do it, but I don't really think it adds much.
Well, I don't think they're asking for our aesthetic opinions, but we do have the ability to make suggestions regarding landscaping or things like that. I think we could make suggestions such as that if the board members want to. Ernie, did you have your, I thought you.
I'm still a little confused. Was this originally constructed as an in-law?
And yeah,
Okay, so it's a conversion from an in-law to a two-family is what
I
you're
believe so.
seeking, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to,
I have one question. Where is the second entrance?
it must be on the side.
it's on the side, yes.
On the side?
On the side.
Oh, okay.
I guess on this one.
Okay.
So there's, if you're looking at where the garage, the two-bay garage, there's a stairway up and it goes around to the entrance on that side.
No,
Thank you.
It could probably be dressed up, I mean, with, on the two-story portion, with shutters or something on windows, wouldn't you think? If we're looking to follow the town center guidelines, we want to get it closer to something, wouldn't you say, Joe? What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, if it falls under, as far as the zoning for a number of units, and I think it should also comply with the, design criteria as well. So I think we need to somehow have some renderings incorporating some of the design features to the overlay.
Can we be more specific for this, for the applicant as to what type of design features? Ernie mentioned shutters. Is there
Yeah.
anything else?
Shutters, I mean, some of the things that we, landscaping, trees, shutters, gooseneck lighting sometimes, things like that. I don't know if,
We don't have a picture of the back of it, do we?
We do.
Oh, we do?
Oh, we do.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Yeah. So I think this is the back
Yeah.
deck.
That's the back, yes.
which,
Yep, traditionally kind of.
I'd like to see all the, like, if we could see the sides, just to see how the end, yeah.
yeah,
There's the stone wall that was constructed.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a beautiful wall.
Very
Yeah.
nice wall.
Nice wall.
And the stairs go around to the right. I think shutters that would match the other part of the
Yeah.
house would look nice.
Yep.
Perhaps, I don't know, is there a walkway from those front steps to any place?
Yes, it goes to the
It goes,
direct
oh,
access.
okay. I
To
just
the
can't
other
see.
way.
There's a set
Oh,
of
it goes this way.
Okay.
It goes
I
into
see.
Oh,
the
and there are
wall.
stairs?
Into the
Okay.
driveway.
So there's a set of stairs on the right side of the,
On the
of the
left
driveway as well as the left side?
Yes.
Both
Okay.
sides? Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's only
Sorry.
there's stairs, if you're looking at the
Stairs.
garage, there's stairs on the right side of the garage to get you into the two-story portion. of it.
Right, so
Yeah,
not on the
sorry.
left side.
Not on
The
the
other
left side.
side, it goes to the other side
Yeah, the
driveway.
other side has a
Sorry.
totally separate entrance because
Oh,
it's a
okay.
two-family.
So the walkway goes out left?
Out to the left to the
Okay.
driveways, yep.
I see.
Yep, because, yeah.
It's just hard to see it from
Yeah, yep.
here.
Well,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying, so there's
How
a
do they
stairway on the right and the left.
No, the stairs here that go
Yeah,
this way?
right here.
There's no stairs here. These go out this
To
way.
the other
How did
driveway.
they get over here?
And it goes out
There's stairs and they
Oh,
go
there's-
out this way.
there's stairs here,
But if you're coming
There's
out
a
this entrance, you go this way.
to where?
There's a driveway over here.
Oh, there's another driveway.
Yeah, that's one of the findings, was that there's sufficient parking for a two-family home.
Got it, okay.
Is there,
There's one over here.
was there a variance on the side between where the two-story addition is? Is that closer than 15 feet to the
I
neighbor's
will-
property
It,
line?
it was on the original house. The original house is constructed within which is now non-conforming, because it was built in 60s.
Uh-huh.
So the original, the smaller house. And really, when we bought the house, we thought like we will like put a new house, like remove everything and put like, that's how most of the developers are doing in our street. All the old houses are like getting demolished. But we thought like there is still a value in the old house, and we have like, big joint family, and we needed the space. So instead of like removing like, ripping up the old house and putting a new house there, we decided to build the addition on the side. So that's why it
Right.
is that
My
way.
question is, the two-story addition, is that closer than 15 feet to the property line? And if so, do they have a variance?
So as far as,
So, yeah, go ahead, yes.
well, I was just gonna say, so as far, so actually, it isn't, if you look at the plot plan, it actually is 15 feet.
Oh, good. Okay.
It meets it, but as far as we are concerned, and we know everything is settled with the board,
Okay.
anything that happened with the Board of Appeals, it's a settled matter.
Okay,
So we have all that information.
So
okay, I see that here, thank you.
Yep.
I guess the part that's a little bit, throws me off a little bit here is usually when they engage the downtown overlay, we have the ability to work with them on
So prior
design
to-
features prior to the building, so, which would have been different siding here, or would have been matching at least on the two side, things like that. Some lighting features and things like that, which, so they're engaging basically the overlay after the property was built, so it's kind of hard, to sit and try to work design features out, I guess, at the first site, first time seeing it is kind of difficult. We usually have the 3A meetings and able to review things ahead of time and things like that, so I'm not sure if they were looking for a decision tonight, or we were just gonna talk about some of the features we'd like to see, or some of the things.
I'd like to do a site visit, actually, because this, I remember when it was built, and just even coming off the hills.
Yeah.
It was very, I thought it was a separate house, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then you go by Forbes,
Well, it actually overwhelms a little.
yeah, so I get all sorts of questions coming through here, Joe, like you said. How did we miss this ahead of time? Because I guess initially it was an in-law apartment, or proposed to be an in-law apartment, which, looking on this,
It's a lot of in-laws.
that's not how the definition, I guess, for the in-law apartment has to be smaller.
Can be no more than
Right.
25%.
So,
I
so
think
it could
This
have been.
project has gone back and forth quite a bit between different departments, and there's, for the in-law, yes, there's percentages of the accessory use in the in-law. I can't speak to all of that back and forth. It did start out as in-law, it did not start out as a project for which it would come directly to us. I think had it started as a two-family, we would have
We would have had
started
it
differently
going on, right.
Oh, yeah.
than where we're ending up here. And this is a little bit of this is definitely a unique case of kind of how it got here. We
Yeah,
would not recommend that people, that if they wanted to build a two-family, go through, this road has been a long road and years-long road, and I don't think the applicant, anyway, I think this has definitely been a unique situation. So in terms of process and how we got here and how to prevent it next time, I don't think we can compare this particular unique situation.
I don't know, I always see unique
Where we are
situations
now.
as if we got a person that did it, that's not unique, that the next person, because word gets around, they say, here's how you do it. It's like a field of dreams. You build it, they will come, then switch it over. So,
From what I understand, if I could interject, I
Yeah.
think that it has actually been a very painful process to get here, and that if it had been started as a two-family, it probably would have been a much smoother process. But I think, I'd like staff to correct me if I'm wrong, the building, as it is built, has been permitted by the building department. That is not going to change. I think our role is to try to implement some of the town center overlay design elements, if we can, to make suggestions for landscaping, to improving the look of the property. That's my understanding, because the building is built and it's approved by the building department, correct?
Is it approved as a two-family already?
the way it's written is, we have a site plan application to permit the conversion of the property into a
To a
two-family.
two-family, that's
To
what I
a
mean. It's
two-family
not a
from an
two-family.
in-law apartment.
Right.
So the building right now, the house is a house with an in-law apartment.
Right. So it's
So
not
all we're
landscaping or a
talking
town center
about
thing.
changing is changing the same structure
Yeah.
into a two-family.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes.
So prior to that, there was no reason to engage
With us.
the overlay.
Right.
But now, the only way to get to a two-family is to engage the overlay. So what should have happened was that should have came before us prior to the construction, so we would have had some say in how it got constructed.
But we don't necessarily have to approve this as a two-family.
We, no, I don't think, I mean, obviously it's coming before us, but it is, my understanding is that it is a by right use in the town overlay, so I think we would have to have a pretty compelling reason to deny, and I think probably our goal would be to work to improve it, because if, say we were to deny it, the building's not going away, it's
Right.
just now an in-law apartment instead of a two-family, and we would not be able to implement any of those design features that we would like to implement
How do we do that?
right here. We can make those suggestions. I mean, looking at this, I like the idea of shutters. I think we should talk about landscaping, about some landscaping in the front, maybe some trees, perhaps some landscaping in between this house and the house next to it, because it is rather close.
I'm sorry, you're ahead in the landscaping of 3A. I'm still at the point where we're approving this going from an in-law, which, did anybody approve this as an in-law with all the conditions that has to meet?
So the conditions of I think it was flipped where the existing portion is the in-law portion and the other portion is the,
So the
I-
ranch house is the in-law and the
Yes.
built house
yes,
as
but
main house.
I can't speak to directly tonight to the conversations within the building department of those determinations. So, but what I believe to be true is that the existing house is the in-law portion percentage and the other piece
Which would make
is-
sense, because that's a 54 by 34, that's just it would, so it's basically a house, a whole mansion in itself. I had just a couple questions in regard to the site plan versus the landscaping, if that makes sense, because I have all these questions with this. I think I read in the background information, this is an 8-bedroom, 8-bath house, the main house?
Combined everything.
Oh, combined. And so how many bedrooms in the new house?
6.
6 bedrooms, how many baths?
6.
6 and 6?
Every bedroom is a private bath, yes.
6 and 6, okay. Has this ever been used as an in-law? Have you ever had in-laws living on one side or the other?
Yeah, we use the whole house right now.
Okay. And they no longer live in town?
No, they live on and off, you know. We are still going through the permitting process. Once we get all the final permit, we'll start using it as our complete residence right now. We just got like a temporary occupancy permit only a month back. So we just started occupying the house.
People have only been living there in a month ago,
Only a month ago, yes.
It's in the new portion,
Yes.
or the other portion.
That's correct, yes.
So I want to clarify a couple things too, Bill. I'm not, so the only reason to go from an in-law to a two-family would be to rent both sides out.
Right,
Because even an accessory, you can live in one and rent out the second one.
accessory. An in-law.
An in-law has to be an open
Family.
unit between, and it
Right.
can't be, it's
Right.
got to be
In-law
family
needs
member.
to,
And then, so the two-family, to convert to a two-family strictly is
Close.
only to rent both sides out. That's the reason.
technically in the building department, it's the affording privacy for both separate units.
Right.
Where
Whether or
an
not it's
in-law, you
rented.
have to have it open.
No, but an accessory, you can have privacy, because you can occupy, as long as the owner occupies a unit, they
Correct.
can rent out the accessory.
Yes.
It's closed. You can rent it out to a non-family member as an accessory. A two-family is the only way you can rent out both sides and not live there as an owner.
There is no requirement to be.
Right.
Right, to be.
That's the difference between the three of
There
them.
are some different percentages of
Yeah,
space.
percentages
Right.
is a whole different issue. I'm just saying, for the only in this case, it was an in-law, so the percentages are still the same percentages as it was approved as an in-law. So naturally, if you wanted to rent out one side and you want to live there, you would only need an accessory. In this case, they want a two-family, so they want to rent out both sides, is my
No,
understanding.
I don't think that's, they can rent out both
Well,
sides.
right,
It doesn't
right,
mean
can.
that's what they intend to do
Right.
right now. It could in the future happen.
Right.
But it's allowed under the town center overlay. I think what our role here is not to question whether or not they can have a two-family, it's to look at the site plan, because that's what we.
I'm strictly clarifying the difference between the three,
Okay.
just so
Actually,
everyone
actually,
understands
that
the
is
difference.
my concern, because if I look at this thing,
You can't, excuse me,
Go
point
ahead.
of clarification, we're only dealing with the site plan.
Right.
Not the interior of the
The
house
site
at
plan,
all.
the site
At
plan,
all.
and I think, Ernie, perhaps some external improvements to
Yes, well, those-
conform with the town overlay
I
overlay
agree,
district.
those would
Yes.
come into any site plan that we deal with,
Correct.
exterior improvements.
I agree.
But as in any site plan, we don't deal with the use.
Or the interior.
Or the interior. So,
That's
I
my
mean, I
understanding.
understand where you're going, Bill, but it's a moot point.
well, maybe not, so let me continue, just
Sure.
another minute, I
Sorry.
know we have an early game tonight, so,
I'm going to give a little leeway.
so this is very complicated, maybe we continue it,
Okay,
because,
just let me, I'm going to give a little leeway on this, but I want us to, after you make this, whatever statement you want to make, we are supposed to be talking about the site plan.
I understand, with site plan to move it from the one condition to the separate two-family, meaning rental out. So with the big house, which is a 6-bedroom, 6-bath, are you planning to rent this out on a long-term basis to like a family?
No, we plan to leave that
Not
ourselves.
pertinent to the site plan, I'm sorry.
Well, so if it's not to the south, to the plan, you can actually, you'd have it as it's not an accessory, right? Where are we going from?
Accessory. You're going from an in-law right now.
In-law, which has to be family.
Which has to be open, cannot be closed between
Right.
the units.
So what I see this is, to be quite honest with you, when I saw this, the 8 bedrooms, 8-bath, the 6-bedroom, 6-bath, is screaming Airbnb to me. So you have individual
Okay, so that's your
rooms,
concern. Okay.
That's where I'm coming with
I
this.
was trying to
So-
figure out where you were
I,
going.
I,
right?
But we
So-
have a prohibition on
I agree
Airbnbs.
with
I
They
understand
can't do
that, but
that.
people
That's
do it
illegal.
anyway, and we're
That's
supposed to.
illegal, you can't do that.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand we can't do that, but they're currently probably still in town. I haven't checked recently, probably a couple of weeks ago. We still have Burlington properties that are Airbnb, and this is a poster child for it.
I
for 6
understand
bedroom,
that, Bill,
6-bath.
but I don't think that we can,
Solve it here.
I don't,
Well,
no, I'm not saying
you
that we
can.
can't solve that problem, but I don't think it is fair for us to not grant something because of the potential for illegal activity, because there's potential for illegal activity almost anywhere.
So without bringing this to a two-family, then it guarantees that the family stays in both sides of this. It's a family in-law apartment for this side of it.
Right,
That's
but
what I'm
if they
saying.
have to rent out the entire new portion, or
Or
the
the other one,
entire
yeah.
old portion, if it's rented out in its entirety, then that's allowed.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
So I think that, and that's the way the bylaw is, so it has to be done so. I believe that's what you intend, but whether or not you intend it, that's all you can do.
So one thing I may add is like we try to get is it as an accessory apartment, but that has like different requirement that was not approved. And then the zoning board of appeals said that instead of doing an accessory apartment, you need to do it as a two-family apartment. So they guided us to do a two-family apartment, then they approved it. Then the building department got us like a new permit and they approved it, that everything is fine for classifying it as a two-family apartment. They already approved it. USPS already knows that there are 2 addresses there. They are already like delivering us 2 different mails at 2 different addresses. The assessor department, the Cambridge office, everybody kind of recognize this as a two-family house. But then, like we recognize this is like a little unique process in terms of, we have to come back and go with the planning department, which maybe could have done in the beginning when we approached the building department for the first time, but they didn't say that go to the planning department or anything. But in the end, they said, now you go to the planning department, so we are here. Yeah. And we did try to get it as an accessory apartment, but that did not get approved. Yeah.
So what I'm going to ask the board members now to focus in on is the site plan and any suggestions that we want to make this work under the town overlay design aesthetic. So we talked about shutters, landscaping, trees. What else do we want to talk about regarding the site plan?
You were not specific on the landscape.
Yes, we can get more specific, but is there anything else we want to add to that list, and then we can drill down? No, okay. So,
Do we need sidewalks? I don't know. Do we need sidewalks?
There is not a sidewalk on the side of Forbes.
There's not.
if there's we don't want a sidewalk that doesn't go anywhere.
Right, okay, agreed.
Sometimes we do.
Yeah, sometimes we actually do.
Well, I'm wondering if there's a way, and I know that I wish that we had this at the time it was being built, because I would have liked to have at least had the front, at least the siding on the front to match the siding on the other part of the house. In other words, if,
Well, the best way to achieve that would be to make the siding on this side match that.
yeah, well, that's really not the kind of siding, I was thinking we'd
But
take,
these are residential houses.
yeah.
You can't tell people how to,
Oh, well, you can, that's what
can.
the overlay is about.
The idea.
In other words, if you're gonna apply one part of the overlay, you gotta apply the whole overlay.
Yeah.
That's why some people don't apply the overlay, because they don't wanna be held to the overlay, but,
Right.
you know, it's, in other words, again, I think it would be an undue hardship to change the siding of the whole house, but, you know, if you went with a cedar impression on the front, just to match the front, this, you know, this is a cedar a cedar shake, a shake, a cedar impression to match that, might be,
I
it
think we
might
all
be
agree
something.
that if it had come to us from the very beginning, it would have been done differently. But that's not where we are. We have, this is where we are, and we have to do the best we can.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I think that's why only the front, I would say, because normally I'd say the whole thing, I'm just saying at least match the front so it all looks uniform, and then do shutters, and then, you know, some lighting, some trees and landscape, and, you know, those are the things that I would be looking.
Okay.
You gotta buffer
do.
it, it's just,
What I would be looking for would be shutters, as you said, that would match so that the whole house has the same look.
Yeah.
I would want to see the lawn fixed. I'd want to see the front stairs fixed, so that they look, like they're, they look rather in the platform there. I think that's the walkway. I'd like to see that whole thing fixed up and dressed up. I'd like to see you put in some landscaping in the front. Maybe add, I would say, 2 trees would be nice. I don't know if there's room on the side to the right to add any landscaping between those 2 homes. If so, that would be nice to have some screening between the 2 homes.
The house closest to Cambridge Street, between those two?
You can see the
One that you
back
can
of the other
see in the
house
picture.
Yeah, I mean, even,
there.
to be honest with you, from
on the
3A,
right
if you had
side.
some high arborvitae's on that side, it would cut the height of that a little bit, you know what I mean?
I'm very much in favor of arborvitae's on the Cambridge Street side.
Okay.
I personally would not, I just wouldn't feel right asking them to rip off new siding and replace it with other siding.
Well, I think for the whole house, I would agree with that, but I
Just for the
think
front.
on the front, I mean, it just needs, it just looks mishmash. I'm sorry, I'm only applying the same, criteria that I apply to all of, everything in the overlay, and it has nothing to do with you,
So we
do the
did
same
try
thing with
to-
everybody come before the
We
overlay.
did try to acquire the same siding that is in the old house. We wanted to do that too.
Yeah.
We couldn't find the exact same siding, and then it cost like 3 times as much as the siding that we put.
Yeah, it
And
does.
then, at least on the front side, we wanted to put it, but we couldn't find that particular brand is not available anymore.
Right.
We have to find something closest match.
Right.
And that was like 3 times more expensive than the other one, and then we had to wait like almost like more than a year,
Yeah.
even just to put a siding on it because of this,
Right.
building department issue.
I hear you, that's why I said I wouldn't even say the whole house, because it's just too much, it's too much
Just the
house
front
there.
side, no, and that was our plan. If we could have find like
Yeah.
similar matching, we thought at least in the front, let's put it, because we also think, it's our house and we want it to look similar.
Right.
But we couldn't even find the exact same siding, and then whatever we found, the closest match was more than like 3 or 4 times than the cost of that.
It is, it's a
It's
cedar,
very
they call it a
expensive.
cedar impression, it's kind of, looks like a shake, it
Yeah.
looks like the rest of the house, but it's vinyl.
Yeah,
so-
it might be easier to remove the cedar and put the other one on the old house than
Then
the
it
other
would all
one,
be
yeah.
uniform, and
Well,
it would
yeah,
also
we-
be very similar probably to other homes on the street,
But we don't,
because,
we don't, We don't allow that siding on the, in the overlay, this particular siding here. So that, to do the whole house would actually be more detrimental to it than, you know.
I understand what you're saying. I think that it probably would, I would have to look at the other houses in the neighborhood, but I wouldn't be surprised if other houses in the neighborhood had similar siding to this,
But we're
because
trying
that's
to,
what
we're
everyone
trying
does.
to tie this in with the overlay, not with the rest of the neighborhood. And so
No, I understand what you're
we're
saying.
trying to apply the criteria for this because it's the overlay that we're dealing with here. And that's my wish list.
Okay.
I'm one member, so I don't.
Yes,
I-
okay. So
I
let's
think it's
just-
horrible that you've had to go through all the things that you've probably had to go through to get to this point.
It's been like 5 years in making.
I
You can wrap it up, yeah.
And I apologize for the town for that, you know, I would assume, you know.
It's been a long, painful effort, and at this moment, I wish we never started it.
Yes,
So,
But we have to wrap it up, like you said, house is not gonna go away. Somehow, we have to, and we are not putting any construction on it.
right.
It's just the way it is, we'll use it. As long as we can use it, we will use it, when we don't need it anymore, probably we'll sell it, or we don't know what will happen. Right now, we plan to leave there, yeah.
so let's try and just first get what we all agree upon out. We all want shutters, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
On
We
the
all want,
front or all, front?
I'd have to take a look at the side, I'd have to take a site walk.
Can't see the side closely.
I would say the side that, because
the
the
side-
side
is
you
that
can
the
see
side
from
that-
from
Front
3A,
street
you
and
probably want
faces
them, right?
Cambridge Street?
yes.
Yeah, the side
Or
Shutters,
upper, that you can
Yes.
see from Cambridge Street?
yes.
The side you can see from
Okay.
Cambridge, yep.
The parking.
We all would like to see a new lawn put in, I think, correct? We all would like to see the front, I don't even think that's the front steps, what is it like
It's like
a,
a board, like a
what is in front of
landing
the
or
steps
something?
there? Is it a landing?
Is it like a landscape?
Or is that the walkway?
It was an old landscaping box,
Old
yeah.
landscaping box.
And we put some solar lights around it, yeah.
So we'd like you to fix up that walkway from your stairs to the driveway on the left.
So there is like a walkway, so you walk out of the steps and then it goes on the side
There
of the
is one.
driveway.
He has one, it's there, you just
Oh,
can't
so the
really.
the thing in the front is not
So
connected
maybe
to the
he could just
You can
remove
walk
that,
straight from the street to the
remove that
house.
and
no?
just do the
You
lawn.
remove that when you do the lawn over,
Okay.
because that would make sense. I think it would be nice, as Joe suggested, to have a row of arborvitaes on the side of the house that faces Cambridge Street to sort of soften the height. And personally, I think it would also be nice to see some landscaping in the front of the house, maybe on the side of the driveway, and maybe add, say, 2 trees to the front yard. Does anyone want to object to any of that? No,
So
okay.
we already have one tree, you can't see it in the picture, but there is one.
Oh,
on
there
the
is
side.
one, I can't see.
There
There
is
is a really big one to the left.
Is
To the
big
left.
trees,
They
yeah.
do have that,
I
yeah.
think they should, they need
Off the
off the
plan.
picture,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, but there isn't one directly in front.
Maybe 2
Actually,
ornamental trees, they don't
wouldn't-
have to get too large, you know?
Okay.
Like a cherry or a
Yeah,
pear.
because
or
he's
something like that.
covering his windows.
Yes.
Like the tree you see in the picture, would that be size good enough? Like the one that's blocking the windows?
I wouldn't wanna.
Cut it
cover-
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, show the window.
Yeah, not,
Yeah.
not right up against the house,
It's covering
forward.
the
Yeah, there's
window.
a-
It's
there's
a
a-
nice window, too.
Looks like there's a rhododendron or something that really should be cut down so you can
Trimmed.
see the window. The window would be, to see the window would
More
make it a
like
lot nicer.
Street-ish tree.
It's a
Yeah,
nice,
street trees, and we could
Full window.
ask to trim the rhododendron.
I would try to put the bushes more than I would say trees there. I'd just
No,
put them
trees would be more
over
like up
here.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, is there anything else other than the siding that members want to see? Because we can talk about the siding after. Are we all agreed on all those things? Okay, so the only remaining issue is,
The shutters should either match the existing, or the
Exactly.
existing should be replaced
yes,
to match
they all
the new.
should match across the front and the
Uniform.
side of the house. So the only remaining issue is the siding. I think everyone understands what Joe is asking for. I would like a little straw poll. Who else on the board would want them to replace the siding on the front of the house so that the siding on the new portion of the house matches the siding on the old portion of the house? That is what Joe is asking. What is the will of the rest of the board? Anyone else?
Although, as Joe said, the siding on the new portion of the house is not the really wide
Right, what he's
colonial
asking
look.
for is that the
Right.
siding on the front of the new portion
Right.
be removed and replaced with something
So
that
a
matches.
so a white cedar,
Right.
like a cedar impression on this front of this side of the house, so that it matches the cedar shake on that side of the house.
And
It
so
is,
that's
it
what-
is a little more expensive.
Joe is asking for that, and I am asking the board
Yep.
individually,
Gotcha.
do you want to require that? Paul?
Yes, just looking at this, I thought carry the shingles or whatever that are on the house all the way across that high and leave the top, like it is now, and put some shutters on it and so forth, and it would, give it the same look all the way across the house at least, and give it a more colonial, or whatever
That's a
you want to
good
call
idea.
it. Because rather than those 6 windows that are there, you'd have, a couple of smaller windows, 2 sets of smaller windows with some shingles
I
on
don't
them and
think
so
they're gonna
forth.
I know we're not asking.
So this is brand-new siding on the
Yes.
new part? That's kind of a hardship for somebody to ask them. I think it's a
Okay.
hardship to do
So,
that.
Ernie,
It will be a lot of
you
hardship.
want to
Well,
require them
let's
to?
just pretend it's really existing colonial, and it's colonial, I built this house and added this with a different, I don't have a problem leaving it like it is,
Okay.
the front.
I don't
In
either.
this case,
I don't have a problem.
Do you want to require them to remove the existing siding on the new portion of the house so that it can be matched to the old portion of the
That's
house?
what, yeah.
You do, okay. Bill?
Yes.
Joe? I know what you think. You think no, you think no. Okay, so now we have a problem because it's 3-3. So perhaps what we should do, I'm going to suggest that you come back. You can show us what you want to do for shingles, for shutters
Why don't we
and
ask the
landscaping.
applicant about what we've talked about and kind of maybe
Ask who?
just ask the
His
applicant
thoughts on
about
what's been
what we've
discussed.
talked about and discussed, so we can at least get some consistency on both sides where we are.
Okay, so
Yeah.
putting the siding aside for now, are you agreeable to the other things we have asked for? Shutters, landscaping,
Yeah.
trees, and some arborvitae's on the Cambridge Street side?
So landscaping, we want to do some more landscaping on the right side of the house. We are just tight on the budget right now, so we are not able to do it, but the portion that you see here, that we can take care of right now. And then shutters, I have to figure out like how much it's gonna cost, and then we can tell you that, it's, looks like quite a few shutters will look good. And you want the same color, right? Same color shutters as the old one, right? Okay, same.
Either,
Across the front of the house?
Yeah,
It
if
doesn't
you
have to
remove
be
the old
visible.
shutters, will that work? So it looks the same, like removing the shutters?
Yeah,
You can remove those 4 or 5 shutters, right? And that kind of matches with the other house. That will be easier.
Make
then.
them all the same, so
Take
it'll look.
all the, so
the
1,
loose.
2, and I think there are like 4 shutters only. We can remove them.
Okay,
but
so
I
it
think
sounds
the
like,
comment was remove the ones on the house so there's no shutters and it all looks the same.
oh, no,
no.
we want
Or have
shutters all the
shutters.
way across.
Yeah, the same color shutters on the whole house.
Oh,
In
you,
the front.
On the,
no, no,
on the
understood, like
front
remove-
and
And
the
the
side
side
you
that
face.
faces
remove them.
Cambridge
No,
Street.
don't remove, right.
Don't remove them.
No, don't remove
not
the
remove
shutters.
them.
No, add shutters where there are none, in the
Okay.
front and on the right, and have them all match.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought like you wanted to look
Okay.
the same, so I thought like if you remove the old shutters, in the old house.
Oh, no, no.
No,
No.
Could you-
Why don't we tell them why we're looking for the shutters? The shutters have a feeling, a colonial look, and that's what we're trying to do in the
Okay.
town center. That's-
Right.
They don't have any functional value, right?
No, they
It's a
don't,
look.
they're just decorative.
I don't know anything about shutter.
They used to.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, they did, but they
Yeah,
don't
right,
anymore.
okay, yeah.
So you could either match the shutters that you currently have
Okay,
on the front of the new portion of the building and the side that faces Cambridge Street. If you can't match them, you could replace the ones on the old portion of the house and just have all of them be the same.
okay.
So it sounds like
Paint them, if they're
Yes.
black on the
Yeah,
new portion,
So
paint
it
them
sounds
black
like
on the old portion.
the applicant is amenable to all of that, so the only remaining question, once again,
I'm going to pile on just a bit, if I can, with the lighting.
lighting.
So you've got, it looks like a couple of lantern lightings on either side of the garage. And there's, that's black. And then you've got looks like a brass one on the front side of this smaller ranch. those should be all the same as well. So
Okay.
if you change maybe the one in the ranch to be a black.
Yeah.
So match the one on the ranch to the ones on the
Yeah.
part of the building.
Keep the new ones and make one of
Have that
those
match.
over here. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
fair enough.
Madam Chair.
So in the old house, we'll replace it with the black one, right?
It would be.
Yes.
Okay, so that sounds like we made a lot of progress. What I'm gonna suggest is that you come back to us with your plan to address all of those things.
Okay.
And then perhaps in the meantime, you could
Ines,
look in,
All right, you were gonna. and
Well,
then
he-
this is-
that's gonna get removed when they
That's gonna
redo the laws.
He's taking that out.
I think it would be good to ask the applicant about the siding piece, if there's
Well,
willingness
I was
there.
gonna say, perhaps in the meantime, he could look into the expense of if he were to replace the siding so that it matched, but only do the front, which is what Mr. Impemba is looking for.
Do you have a timeline on your temporary?
Yeah, I think
Building
it's,
department?
yeah, 6 months, and I don't know how long it is, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, and you're only a month in.
Say that again? Yeah.
You're a month in that 6-month timeframe.
Month or two, maybe, yeah, a little more than a month, yeah, maybe.
I think we should be able to resolve this at our next meeting.
Sure.
And I personally would say, because this is a resident, not a business, that if there is financial hardship, we could put in our decision that the work needed to be done by a date certain in the future, but not necessarily right away. We might give a little time.
Good idea.
I think.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, we had a plan to put central AC in the house. We couldn't do it. We almost ended up spending like more than twice the budget that we had planned, because it took 5 years to complete, and at every stage, the building department put like a stay order. So every time they found something wrong, they said you cannot even put a nail in the house until we say you go ahead. So my house, I don't know if some of you might have noticed if you live in Burlington, it remained as a shell with all the woods that was getting rotten, right? That was exposed to the weather. We wanted to put the siding as soon as possible to protect the house, if nothing more, while we sort out building department issues. Because you don't want snow and water to go in a wood structure. It took us a year to get that permit, more than a year. Building department raised a lot of concerns, which is a whole separate issue, right? And they said, while you address those issues, you cannot even put a siding on the house or roofing on the house. So imagine if it is your own house that you plan to finish within a year. It sits more than a year for no other reason than some issues that building department has found, which we resolved finally. And it's a whole different thing we don't need to go into here. So it stayed there for a long time. Then the COVID came, and our cost has like gone like almost 3 times. So at this moment, we don't even have money to put air conditioning. In May, we had 5 days with temperature in 90s, but we managed it somehow.
Well, I
So,
think, and I
yes.
sense that, I understand, and I empathize.
Thank you.
And that's why I think
Yeah, I appreciate that.
having
Thank you.
time to complete this work is very reasonable, and we can certainly work with you on
No,
that.
we will definitely put the shutters, right? That will look nice, so we'll put them, and then figure out something on the landscaping on the front side of the house, yes.
So the next time you come back, you can tell us what your landscape plan is, you can tell us what your plan is for the shutters and the lighting, and you can, in the meantime, perhaps look into options for the siding, and you can report back to us what that expense would be, and if you're willing to do that, and then we can finish, that would be sort of the last piece left that we have to
Okay.
finish. Does that sound
Four
reasonable?
items, and the siding is the last one. Got it. No, that makes sense, okay. Okay.
Question, just, I believe you said you have a temporary occupancy permit at the moment?
Yes.
That's correct.
Do you know exactly when that runs out?
I can get the details next time. I think it's like we are a month or two in.
6 months.
that-
6 months, and he's 1 month in.
So, okay.
A
so
month or
well,
two, yeah.
within that
Yes.
time, okay.
Yes, okay?
I believe it expires in October, but I will confirm on that, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you
Do
very
have any-
much.
Maybe, does he have any questions? Do you have any questions for us? Maybe?
No, I've been here for the first time, and I kind of came to know you are short on one staff, so I applied for myself also. If you still need a person, I'm available, I would love to work. I've been like town resident for 30 years, and I feel like, there are areas where we can improve too. I mean, the way we operate and everything. housing shortage is specifically, I am an immigrant and I know that it's unbelievably tight. And we are lucky that we are able to manage to build this much, you know, and we have like, you know, the house is owned by me and my sister and my parents, right? So we all live together here, which is unusual for multifamily to live under one roof, but that's how we plan to use the house. And that was clarified when we approached building department that this is how we plan to use the house, right? And then this issue is 30% of the in-law house, right? All those things came into discussion. That is why this house is so big, because it has to be, the old house has to be 30% of the total house or something. All those things came into discussion. I understand that it looks big or something to you, right? But because the old house was approved as an in-law house, and then this addition
It had
was
to be-
approved
I
as the new
understand.
house,
For the-
and then the ratio has to match, the 30% ratio, right? And then we ran into this situation which we had to resolve, which we couldn't resolve by making it as an accessory apartment. So we are into this situation that it has to be a
I
two-family house.
understand, and it sounds like it's been a very, very difficult process.
Extremely
And
difficult,
And
yes.
like I said, we do sympathize, but I think we have a plan now.
Yes.
We'll have you come back in July, and hopefully we can wrap everything up then.
Sounds
Thank you.
good. Thank you.
So I would be,
Motion to continue this matter to the meeting of, planning board meeting of July 21st, 2022.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, we'll see you in July.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so I think we are on page 8. Item I is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 6.1.3, non-conforming single and two-family residential structures of the zoning bylaws, 24 Pathwoods Avenue. Richard Mello is the applicant. Welcome, Mr. Mello.
Good evening. This is my wife, Lisa.
Welcome. So, why don't you tell us what you want to do?
Of course. So, we decided to increase the size of our home. We've been living in a single-story ranch, growing family, very cramped, so we had originally decided to simply add a second level. As we got into that process, we realized that it would make a lot more sense to just kind of start over, leave the foundation in place, stay within the existing footprint, and just rebuild. It would have been too much work to renovate the original floor, so that's what we did. The existing home has a 4.5-foot by 6-foot front entry porch, pretty small front entry porch. So our hope was to increase the size of that front porch to make a farmer's porch in the front of the house. Now, the existing front entry porch is non-conforming, pre-existing.
The existing porch.
The existing
Okay.
porch is pre-existing non-conforming,
Okay.
but because we're widening the dimension of that front entry porch, we're obviously increasing the non-conformity because we are stretching that a little bit farther away from the edge of the house.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's several reasons why we're hoping you allow us to do it. First reason, frankly, is the value of the home. You know, if you take away that front entry, the farmer's porch, that small front entry really would be completely out of scale to the rest of the home. A lot of the newer construction that's happening in town, farmer's porches are frankly a pretty common item. We think it would detract from the value of the home. Secondly, probably the most important, when we applied for the permit, the special permit, we explained that we have elderly parents, my in-laws, and they do visit frequently, and that existing front entry is pretty tight, 4.5 by 6 foot, and you take into account the railings and barely enough room for the door to swing open, and we had hoped the farmer's porch would ease their ingress and egress. It's our, other than the garage, that's our main access to the house. Certainly, we have a back door, but we make it a lot easier for them to come in and out. Since then, unfortunately, Lisa's mom passed away.
Sorry.
And my father-in-law is going to be moving in with us when the house is built. So it certainly makes it a lot easier for him to come and go. Now, one thing that comes up in the letter that we received from the building department was we are increasing the nonconformity on the right side of the house because the front of the home is canted to the front property line. So since we'd be bringing out that front right corner, simply with that angle, it's reducing the side setback from an existing 9 feet to 8.2 feet. Yeah, as you can see it right there. But one thing that we're doing to help that nonconformity is the elimination of that deck that's on the back right-hand corner of the home. So that's going to disappear altogether. We're going to do away with that, without that side entrance. So we're
So the
taking a little bit
nonconformity is
and giving a
reduced in
little
the
bit.
back? Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
Addressing that side setback, it is pretty tight, but it's pretty peculiar, that lot. That land that is directly to the right of my home, there's no structure on it. It's just a strip of grass.
Yeah.
I moved into the home in 2006, and since then, essentially, I've been taking care of that land. You know, I mow it, I rake it, fertilize it. I've been treating it as my own all these years. So, you know, I have a good agreement with the neighbor who is actually behind me. It does belong to them, but I've been treating it as my own this whole time. So, yes, I am infringing on that land, but the neighbor certainly won't mind, is I guess my point.
Okay, thank you. Staff, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just that we don't see these very often, I just wanted to kind of give you guys the lay of the land of why it's here. So this is an undersized lot. It also has existing nonconformities. The existing nonconformities allow for these improvements to go through a special permit section 6 finding to increase or alter the nonconformity. So therefore, as, I'm not going to run through what was said already, but, you know, to add the farmer's porch and to this very slight kind of cant out of the building side is certainly something that we feel is not substantially more detrimental than the existing situation. On page 9, we do have 5 findings to consider in terms of, not to consider, but that we've written as to why this is potentially, that is not substantially more detrimental. In terms of the reduction of, you know, taking the deck off, is, so therefore it's less than what that already encroaches in, and the front porch being a farmer's, a famer, I didn't spell it right, a farmer's porch has character, builds community. And that the, where is it? And just stating that it's in character with the neighborhood. But I think if you look at the aerial, which we don't have up, but it is just a grass strip between this house and Purity Springs Road, which when you look at it, you'd never know that there's a different ownership. So it's not as if you're looking at a really tight neighborhood where this looks out of place. It's very much spaced out and in character with what's around it.
How wide is that grass strip?
Oh, sure, yeah. I can see that.
How wide is the grass strip from part
That's a
that
good
you
question.
don't own that looks like it's yours?
Yeah, it's approximately, if I would approximate this to scale, it's around 27 feet from the lot line up to the curb. It's a raised hill.
Oh, okay.
I would say Purity Springs is probably laid out at 30, so it's about the same, so it's.
Why would they just go to the Board of Appeals for a variance? Because
We
it's
tried
not.
that
We tried
first,
that first.
and they kicked us. They said it's a special permit.
I
Okay.
can speak to that, but I don't
Okay.
know. Can you take one down past the
Sure.
drop? Let me do that for you.
You were there
So,
first.
I have in the staff notes in your staff report, basically what so we have a new building inspector, building commissioner, and he's interpreting things and doing things differently than previous. So basically, because this lot is already pre-existing non-conforming, it is a section 6. If somebody is coming to the building department and they have a conforming lot and they're looking to add a new non-conformity to an already conforming lot, that's when they are going to the Board of Appeals. So that's why we are seeing more of these.
So, which I actually don't disagree with, so I think the new inspector of building, or not new now, but anyway, Mark DePel, who's been here, you know, the thinking of, the bylaw is the rules that are in place that we should follow. Getting a variance is asking for
Yes.
an exception to those rules. Section 613 sits in the zoning bylaw as the rules
Okay,
to follow.
I understand.
So therefore, if the site is such that you can use a section that's in the zoning bylaw, which is where we want to appoint people, that's where we should start.
Okay.
And if there's a new nonconformity, you get a variance. So I think it's, you know, it's definitely sound reasoning, but it
Okay.
hasn't been necessarily the way we've done things in the past.
So, point of clarification, you have not yet built the new home. This is what you live here and you're good, this is the plan.
Well, we applied for a building permit, and we
Okay.
got a demolition
Okay.
permit and a foundation permit. So the home is currently demolished.
Oh,
And we put in a foundation in the back of the house for a kitchen addition, which is shown in the proposal, but nothing else has happened
I understand, thank you. Board members,
So this house is demolished.
currently.
Except the foundation,
Correct. The foundation is remaining.
And this
Okay.
is on the
corner of Purity and Pathwoods.
Paul,
As
did you
come
have a
down the
question?
hill right before the.
No, I was just gonna say, this is a very old neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because we've been there 60 years or whatever, and those houses were down there then. I believe they were probably built right after World War II, sometime like that. And so it's nice that they're gonna be renewed, rehabbed, and other people are moving in. But it's a nice area, it's quiet, and, you know, nice neighborhood to live in Burlington.
I've been a longtime resident. I've been here since 1980.
Yeah,
So that's where I grew up on Skelton Road, and then when I bought in 2006. Wasn't planning to stay in the house as a little ranch all these years. I told myself if I was still here in 10 years, I'd go crazy, but we stayed, but now's the time. We need to do something.
Sure, no, that was my comment.
So, there's a piece of vacant land on the right side where there is some nonconformity now, and even if it was to be made a little bit more, the idea of the 15-foot setback was basically to make sure there's 15 feet on each house, so they'd be at least 30 feet apart.
Between the
right?
houses, yes.
And, I mean, I'm almost trying to argue it from the side of when I used to be on the Board of Appeals, but there is no, I don't have a problem with what
Okay,
they're trying to do.
you don't have a problem with it. Bill?
No comment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Joe?
Good.
Tony?
I'm fine.
I also bought a small house and said I was only gonna stay in it for a little while, and I loved my neighborhood, and I built onto it. I completely understand what you're trying to do, and I think farmers' porches are lovely, and they encourage community, and people sit there and talk to their neighbors. I like them.
We do like that.
So I have no problem with this either. Is there anyone,
Any chance, was that the Marshall's house prior to you?
Yes, it was.
It was, that's right.
Absolutely.
I think I already.
I bought it directly from them in 2006.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this matter, either online or in the room?
I see no one with their hands raised.
Okay.
Motion to
so,
close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's see.
Want the rest of it?
I do, but I'm trying to figure out where it was.
Yes, and then in the last line, put in 24 it's not 16.
So this is the motion beginning at the top of page 9, correct?
Okay, pursuant to section 6.1.3, that one?
Yes.
Certified.
Non-conforming single and two-family residential structures of the zoning bylaw, the planning board finds that the extension, alteration, and change of the non-conforming one-family dwelling at 24 Pathwoods Ave will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming one-family dwelling that existed prior to the, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading it, to the extension, alteration, and change.
For the, why don't you continue?
Yeah, could you,
sure.
Bill,
For the
please,
following
thank you.
reasons, approving the request to permit an increase in the building within an existing non-conforming front setback on property owned by Richard Mello with one-family residential RO
At 24 Pathwoods.
at 24 Pathwoods, subject to terms, conditions, and contained in Exhibit A attached.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second, I'll second.
Thank you. All those in
Can I
favor?
make the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, good luck with your new build.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right, I am looking for a motion to take items M, N, and O together for discussion purposes.
I'm fine, it used to be out here.
Say so moved. Say so moved.
So
So
make,
moved.
second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
And I'm right behind her.
Item M is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 4.2.6.14, establishments for contractors in such services as, but not limited to, building maintenance, plumbing, landscaping, electrical, masonry, carpentry, and well dwelling of the zoning bylaws, 30 Gwynn Street.
One sec, I need to recuse myself from this
Oh.
matter.
Okay, thank you. Lexington Lawn Care is the applicant. Item N is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 4.3.2.6, outdoor storage of supplies and equipment incidental to permitted uses, subject to the requirements for location, lighting, screening, fencing, cover, and safety precautions of the zoning bylaws. 30 Wynn Street, Lexington Lawn Care is the applicant. And item O is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 4.3.2.7, off-street outdoor overnight parking of freight carrying or material handling vehicles and equipment or buses of the zoning bylaws. 30 Wynn Street, Lexington Lawn Care is the applicant. Welcome, gentlemen. If you could please identify yourselves for the record.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Thomas Murphy here, attorney for the applicant. With me is Robert Burge, who's the principal of the applicant. Mr. Burge owns and manages quite a few rental holdings, rental properties, and he mostly maintains his own properties. So he has essentially his own maintenance crew. He currently has a facility in Chelmsford that he uses for that purpose. And then they go around and maintain the various buildings that he owns. He's looking to purchase the subject property here. It's under a purchase and sale agreement contingent upon this permitting process. And what he's intending to do, should he be successful in getting his permits, is to use this to house some of his maintenance trucks and equipment to make it a little bit easier to service some of the properties that he might own down this way. Most of his properties are up in the Chelmsford Lowell area. So basically, this property, it's about a 4,764 square foot property located at 30 Wynn Street. For those familiar with the area, it's immediately adjacent to the Dunkin' Donuts and across the street from the Mirandy's Barber Shop. For years, the property, the current owner ran a home heating service business at the site. At some point, he leased the space out to a gentleman who did an auto glass repair business, but he recently sold his business, so the property is now being sold. As you can see from the plan, the building takes up most of the lot. If you drive by the site and look at it from the street, there's a new fence that's been installed along the Dunkin' Donuts site that goes from the street all the way back to the end of the property line. And there's a narrow strip of grass, there you can see it from there, narrow strip of grass to that side of the building that really isn't usable for anything. It's not wide enough to be used. On the other side, the property line is somewhere between the subject property and the adjacent small shopping plaza property. And the back has a very fairly narrow area, and there's a fence back there, and then there's residences behind it. So what Mr. Burge hopes to do is use this building to keep some of his trucks in, with some equipment, tools, things of that nature. There is, the plan essentially would be, he has his employees, the ones using this equipment, will arrive in the morning, park their cars, get into the trucks, go off and do their work for the day. They'd come back at the end of the day, put the trucks away, put the tools away, take their cars and go home. So it's not going to generate any coming and going during the course of the day. It's not a retail store or things of that nature where people are going to be coming in and out of. The special permits that we're requesting, one, in order to run this type of a business in this zone requires a special permit, so obviously that's one of them. Also included is a special permit to park vehicles outdoors overnight. He hopes to get most of his trucks on a day-to-day basis within the building, but depending on where people might be in a given afternoon and where they have to go the next day, it might be necessary to park one of the trucks outside. Were he have to do that, he would do it along the side of the building on the left, as looking at it from this picture that we're looking at, parallel to the side of the building. You couldn't do anything to the right of the building, and there's not enough space really behind the building to do anything like that either. As far as equipment, there's not going to be any materials here, there's not going to be loads of mulch or dirt or things of that nature. But one of the special permits does allow, would allow to store equipment on the back. What he would like to do, frankly, is put some sort of a storage shed container there, just to put tools, things of that nature, in there. We had initially considered asking for a special permit to store fuel. That's a fairly expensive application fee, and he really doesn't have any use for it. All he has is little, the cans of gas to refill his lawnmowers and things of that nature. He'll just make a point of making sure those stay on the trucks that are going elsewhere, so they wouldn't be stored here. And there's certainly no tanks or anything of that nature that would be involved. So this is primarily a proposed business and a proposed use that will house his exterior maintenance vehicles and equipment. And like I said, there will be some flurry of activity in the morning when the employees arrive to take the equipment out. And then at the end of the day, they'll put the equipment back and go about their business.
Okay.
So that's the gist of it, Madam Chair. Mr. Burge obviously is here to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you. Staff?
So we, this is a very small, kind of strange site. It's very non-conforming. It's essentially a one-bay garage. It's currently, or it was used as a glass repair shop, so there are a lot of people going in and out. We feel that this is kind of a less demanding use. It's going to be people coming in the morning and leaving it at night. So one thing that we did want to kind of talk through is kind of formalization of parking, where parking is going to go, and kind of put that on the site plan, make sure that that is clear. The other thing, what was I going to ask? Yeah, and just kind of, outline on the site plan where any exterior storage of equipment would be, and we're wondering, are there gonna be any, do your trucks have trailers? Are they like typical?
Yeah, so we wouldn't be storing any outside equipment per se.
Okay.
Occasionally, we would have vehicles, or one or two vehicles and a trailer, but the trailer would be empty.
Okay.
And the vehicles aren't classified as like 6-wheelers or 10-wheelers. They're Chevy dump trucks, which are really much bigger than like a Chevy Tahoe or something. So we don't own anything that's,
Dump trucks or?
yeah, it's
Dump
like,
trucks are huge.
well, it's the same
Is it like an
basically
oversized-
chassis. Yeah, but it's not a huge.
Pickup truck,
Yeah.
kind of like
It's
that?
it's the size of it's a dual rear wheel. It's the size of
A large pickup truck?
large pickup truck, a
Okay.
little bit bigger. But I mean,
I
we don't
think
have
dump
we don't
truck, I
have like
think
10-yard
huge.
dump trucks.
Okay,
Small dump truck.
okay. All right.
I mean, we can get an image of that too. And
I
provide
don't
what-
think that's necessary.
And I had talked, and I don't want to interrupt, but I had talked to staff about the parking plan. We'll get that for you.
Oh, 100%.
Great.
We're going to have the surveyor draw up parking stripes.
I have a question because the picture has that little white square. Is the entrance formalized? Is there, I see granite curbing a little bit on the right there. Is it on the left as well? And I just can't see it.
On the left, it's not granite curbing on the left, from what I know. There might be one corner radius there. It's
Oh, okay,
raised up
oh,
asphalt.
there you go. Thank you. That's
Yeah, right,
helpful.
it is there, okay.
That is helpful.
And then the asphalt's been raised up
Okay.
along where that car is.
All right. So that's very helpful. Thank you. That view makes it much easier to see what we're dealing with here. Okay. So you're done? Okay. Ernie, did you have any questions?
So the one or two vehicles would be parked on the left side of the existing building? is that
Yeah,
what you're
kind of
saying?
where the Patriot Glass van is there with the open back doors.
Yep.
There's nothing that's going to be any wider than that. We did measure out on the
And
property
it's-
line.
Is there any room between the back of the building and, because those are residents behind you, aren't they?
Well, there's a fence You can't see it there.
Yeah.
And I almost see another white van in front of that white van. The neighbor, I guess, in the last year or two has put up like a 8-9 foot fence back there behind the strip mall, as you want to call it, on the left.
Oh, where the liquor store is.
Liquor store, right, and so on. Behind this building, the footprint of this building, which isn't large, there is not a fence.
Okay, but you wouldn't be parking any vehicles
It
in
would
the
be,
back?
we would not be parking. The only thing that I wanted to do in a more or less perfect world is put a storage container back there that would hold items inside it, but we wouldn't be putting product out there or mulch or any
If
of
you're
that.
going to do that, it's probably a good idea to have it on the site plan,
Yeah.
Okay,
okay?
okay, sure.
That way,
When we
nobody will
update
get
the
hassle
plan,
you later on.
Put the exact dimensions and so on.
Yeah, and if you're going to do it, you probably want to shield it from the residents behind you somehow with a fence.
I'm not opposed to continuing the fence there, I just didn't come in asking for it. I don't have a problem with matching, there's a vinyl fence there.
Yeah,
Wouldn't have a problem with matching that, because there's a vinyl fence at the Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
So we just kind of tie everything together.
Probably would be a good idea to save you future aggravation.
I'd be more than willing to tie the two of them together.
Good. I'm all set.
Thank you. Paul?
No, nothing really.
Bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we do anything landscaping-wise there? I mean, it's,
Well,
Yeah.
well, we wanted to clean up the arborvitaes and yews that are, they actually look better in that picture than they really do. They're kind of into the window.
That's the
I
first
was-
time I've heard that one.
I was gonna I was gonna go in front of building, it needs a new roof. I was gonna try to clean up the aesthetics of the building where the Patriot Glass sign, that's still there, we were gonna remove that. And we were gonna try to clean up that entranceway a little bit.
maybe even with the signage, if you do a gooseneck lighting,
No signage.
it's gonna be no signage at all on there.
Not at this
That's
point.
what they
I haven't requested anything at this
Okay.
point.
Can you, if you pull
I'd
back?
be more than willing
Yeah,
to,
thank you.
we like to kind of clean things up, so we'd be more than willing to put outside lighting
Even
along
just
there.
maybe like on where you have the
Well-
granite curbing, can you?
Yeah, well, on the
flower
right,
pot.
where
Two of
Dunkin'
them.
Donuts is, they do have landscaping along that.
Only problem with that is it's like a 3-foot swath. And
Oh,
when they
that's
plow, the only way they can really plow the complex next door is kind of to bring the snow across here. I thought of the same thing. So,
Wait, the neighbor is bringing snow into your property?
well, they've brought it over. Yeah. Well, it's not my property.
He's on the, you're talking about on the liquor store side.
On the left
Kind
side?
of, they kind
Yeah.
of push that all up there.
So, I mean, we could put perennials or something in there that wouldn't, to put like arborvitaes per se, or put bushes in there, I think they would end up getting damaged.
So can you scan out a little bit more? 'Cause
On
there's
the,
sort
on
of
the
like a
side of the
little-
RAV4 there, yeah.
There's a little on the other side too. I
Yep.
want to see both sides.
I don't
There
know
we
if
go.
it's gonna let me move. Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay.
If we could do something on each corner.
Like an ornamental grass.
Or even if you can't put a tree there, a really big pot with flowers in
We
it
could
on
do,
either
we could do,
side.
we could do planters there, and we can
That would be
definitely
nice.
plant along the fence against Dunkin' Donuts.
That would be very nice.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
put some color in there, sure, of course, greenery.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And I think the lighting along the front of the building, I mean, I would like to do that, so I think putting the gooseneck or something, just kind of clean it up a little bit, light it would look nice, yeah.
Okay, very good. Tony Ann, did you have any questions?
No, you answered
Okay.
everything.
I'd really love to see a little landscaping, just to soften that and
Yeah.
also to make it
And we
more.
can get some large,
formal.
some nice-looking, tasteful planters on the left there that are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Or even on the left and the right, so that it sort of frames the entrance.
Right.
That would be great, thank you.
So we can, we'll try to get something to you in plenty of time before the next meeting, just kind of showing all of the things we just talked about, including where the parking spaces would be. We are somewhat limited, obviously, there's not a lot of space there, and we have to park some cars, so we'll.
Yeah.
can
But
be
you'll stripe it
imaginative.
somehow.
Yeah,
Okay,
and we'll get that all to you hopefully in the next week or so.
okay. Is there anyone in the audience, either in the room or online, who had any questions or comments on this matter? Seeing no one, I am ready for a motion.
To continue this matter to the planning board meeting of July 21st, 2022.
Second.
All those in
Say that,
favor?
is that right?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
If I could let the record show that I told Mr. Vaughn I'd be out here before the Celtics game started. So from this point on, it's on him.
I'm gonna go get Joe.
Thank you.
It's tip off.
Yeah, it is, right, 9 o'clock game.
All right. May I have a motion, please?
Take items 8P through 8V together for discussion purposes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 8P is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 4.2.7.4. Laboratories engaged in research, experimental and testing activities including but not limited to the fields of chemistry, electronics, engineering, geology, non-biologic medicine, and physics of the zoning bylaws, 3 Burlington Woods Drive. GIETS Burlington LLC is the applicant. Item Q is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 4.2.7.4.1, life science laboratories engaged in research, prototype manufacture, experimental and testing activities, including but not limited to the fields of pharmaceuticals, biomedical technologies and engineering, life systems technologies, environmental and biomedical devices, biosafety level 4 laboratories as defined by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention are prohibited in Burlington of the zoning bylaws, 3 Burlington Woods Drive. GIETS Burlington LLC is the applicant. Item R is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 4.2.7.4.2. Life science laboratories engaged in the manufacture of life science technologies and medicines for commercial production to the market, including, but not limited to, the fields of pharmaceuticals, biomedical technologies and engineering, life systems technologies, environmental biomedical devices, biosafety level 4 laboratories as defined by the CDC Center for Disease Control and Prevention are prohibited in Burlington of the zoning bylaws, 3 Burlington Woods Drive. GIETS Burlington LLC is the applicant. And item S is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 4.2.7.9, hazardous and toxic materials, chemicals, use, storage, transport, disposal, or discharge of the zoning bylaws, 3 Burlington Woods Drive. GIETS Burlington LLC is the applicant. Item T is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 4.2.7.12, generation or storage of hazardous waste in excess of the volumes classified as a very small quantity generator of the zoning bylaws, 3 Burlington Woods Drive. GIETS Burlington LLC. And item U is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 6.1.2.1, non-conforming structures and premises of the zoning bylaws, 3 Burlington Woods Drive. GIETS Burlington is the applicant. And item V is a public hearing, application for approval of a site plan, 3 Burlington Woods Drive. GIETS Burlington LLC is the applicant. So now I'm going to let you talk for a while.
That was pretty impressive, yeah.
I think when I started, I didn't realize how long it was going to be.
Yeah.
I turned to the page and I thought, 3 more. Okay, welcome. Please identify yourselves for the record.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. For the record, Attorney Mark Vaughn with Reamer and Bronstein, representing the applicant GI Partners and their affiliate entity, GIETS Burlington LLC, the owner of the property at 3 Burlington Woods. If it's possible for the screen to be shared, I know Greg Lusky, who's part of our team here. Yeah, okay.
You can steal it from me.
Great. So we're here in connection with the property at 3 Burlington Woods in Burlington, obviously, and we had 2 versions of this presentation. We're going to go with the Celtics are in Game 6 of the finals version and try to be brief, concise, and, obviously be respectful of your time. So just had a very brief PowerPoint slideshow that we were going to try to walk through here, but I think you're all familiar with the 3 Burlington Woods property, hopefully, but it is a site that is located at 3 Burlington Woods, adjacent to 128. Here we go here. This is the first page of our presentation, but this is the existing building if you're looking at it from the parking lot nearest 128. But this plan here, if everyone can see it, highlighted in green is the subject property. It's a building that was built back in 1985, approved by the then planning board as part of a site plan approval, about 159,000 square feet. Existing building. You can see it 128 running from left to right with a yellow is. And then you've got Burlington Woods Drive that abuts the site as well. So this gives you some context for the overall area, but part of the Burlington Woods campus. The property's in the General Industrial Zoning District. And just by way of identification, I know a lot of folks identify buildings by the signage that's on there, but this is the building that has the Color Kinetics sign on it, Phillips Color Kinetics, which you can see from the highway. So GI Partners, and Joe Imperato with GI is here, acquired the building earlier this year, and very excited about the opportunity to convert the building to a mix of lab, life science, and office use. Obviously, as the board is aware from prior applications and through the efforts of the town, and particularly the leadership of this board, Burlington has seen a biotech cluster that has evolved over the past few years, and I know GI is very excited about this opportunity to convert the building for that type of utilization. So the property actually abuts or is adjacent to 4 Burlington Woods, which is owned by the Gutierrez Company, which recently has converted their use to very similar, if not identical, types of uses. So this is just a raw aerial plan of the site. Again, you've got 128 that's on the bottom, and then Burlington Woods Drive that's up at the top. We're not looking to, notwithstanding the number of applications that you read, Madam Chair, the proposal is relatively simple in that the building footprint is staying the same. We're looking to convert that to life science and lab use. We've got some modest loading dock enhancements, which Mark Wickstead is going to walk through in a minute. We also have our architect, Mike Manship, with Vivo here. But the project is relatively straightforward, but it's obviously the number of permits that applied for are a little longer than usual. But so the proposed, we would be adding some internal square footage to the building through the infill of some existing atrium space in the building, as well as enclosing a segment of the under-building parking. So this is one of those buildings that was built back when, you know, the parking was underneath the building, so we're going to be filling some of that in as well. So as a result, the FAR goes from 0.33 to 0.38, but we're still well within the limits of the bylaw. So so maybe you could just go to the existing slide of the photos of the site. Sure. But just wanted to point out that. Yeah, there we go, all right. So this, again, just gives you a sense of the existing conditions. So somewhat of a bucolic setting in terms of the, you know, a lot of green space that's on the site. On the, those two visuals up at the top are from Burlington Woods Drive, looking at the building. And on that top right photo, you can see some of that parking that's at grade below the building there. So, you know, it's an attractive, handsome building, and, you know, we're certainly going to maintain the architectural integrity of it as well. So what I wanted to do is just introduce Joe, who was going to just briefly explain his little bit about GI Partners. And obviously, they're very experienced in this arena. They own a number of properties that have been used for lab and life science purposes and aren't new to this concept. So,
great. Thanks, Mark. Madam Chair, members of the board, thanks for having us here tonight. We're excited to present the project. My name is Joe Imperato. I'm with GI Partners. I'm the Vice President of Development. GI Partners is a private investment management company. Our real estate specialty is sort of what we consider mission-critical real estate, and that includes data centers, life science buildings with lab and manufacturing purposes. We have about 7.5 million square feet of these mission-critical properties, and about 1 million square feet in our development pipeline. The reason I bring that up is, you know, this is an asset class that requires operators that do know what they're doing. And as you've probably seen, there's a lot of developers that are getting into the game that maybe aren't as experienced in this, and so it's important that we highlight our competency there. You know, as I mentioned, we handle development in-house. I'm local, here on the ground, so this project I'll oversee. My background's in construction and development, specifically in life science. So before this, I was with Biomed Realty, one of the largest private life science owners and operators. And I've been in construction my whole career. So again, just a quick intro on us. We're excited to be here in Burlington. We think that the life science landscape's really changing. You're starting to see companies that are moving out of the traditional cores in Kendall Square and Boston, and we're excited to be a part of it.
Okay,
Welcome.
thank you.
Thank you.
You're coming at the right time to the right place.
Absolutely, yes. Yep, we agree.
Liz, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, I was going to, I'm sorry,
Oh, sorry.
if I could just have Mark Wickstead.
didn't realize. I
Just
thought you were
just
done.
very briefly, just touch upon the site plan and.
I just
yeah,
thought
yeah.
the Celtics version was.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'll keep it pretty quick.
Okay.
So again, this is a redevelopment, just a conversion of office to lab. As Mark said, the footprint doesn't change. The use changes from office to like 60/40 lab office. So the site plan doesn't really change. The axis is the same. If you look over to the right side there, there's a loading area. That's the main difference, switching from office to lab for site plan reasons, is just to get trucks in and out easier. So mainly we needed to improve circulation to that back corner. I will say also that the loading is, really hidden from the road and everything else. It's really the best spot for the loading. We had to stripe out some of the perimeter islands and reduce some of the parking along that path to get trucks all the way around to the corner. So in that corner area, there's 2 loading docks, at-grade loading docks, with a scissor lift with a canopy over it. So this isn't like a depressed dock or anything. And there's a compactor there. Let's see. The parking, as I said, the perimeter of the site is improved for loading, and we took up some space with the loading dock maneuverability, so the parking is being reduced by 71 spaces overall. And that goes along with the lab use requiring less parking than an office use, so that the numbers make sense there. The stormwater, I can jump into that. We are reducing impervious area on site by 3,600 square feet. So we're also reducing runoff, increasing infiltration, and we're adding a water quality unit in the area near the loading dock, so that area is going to be completely taken care of. We're adding some green space there right next to the loading dock. For utilities, we're upgrading the gas and electric, again, to support the lab use. Those will be coming off of Burlington Woods Drive. And I think that's about it. Overall, there's only 9,000 square feet of disturbance on the site, so it's a very minimal site plan package. I guess I would say also that we're improving, we're adding some landscape islands as well, and improving the ADA parking. You could see that kind of in the middle of the screen there. Adding crosswalks and increasing the number of ADA spaces. And I think that does it. That's my quick overview.
Thank you. Mr. Vaughn, are you done?
We had some additional slides, but but I'm going to not get into them. If you have questions about something, we're more than happy to answer it. But as Joe had mentioned, well, he didn't mention, but just very seasoned in this arena. We actually did appear before the Board of Health. Presentation was given, and they were fine with it. They submitted comments to the board, so, but that's it. So.
Okay, thank you. I didn't mean to rush.
No.
Liz?
Staff, we don't feel that there's any issue with the use on the site. It's kind of adding to the kind of life science campus, if you will, of this area. It's kind of slowly converting that way. We've talked with Mark and his team about kind of adding a few more landscape islands, maybe some, we'd like to see some more shade trees. It's a parking lot, so anything we can do to reduce heat island effect would be great. And then we were talking about internally, there is some pedestrian access internal to the site, some improvements there, but other than that, that's kind of.
Linking to the external.
Yeah, linking.
networks.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we've been, but that's all, Madam
Okay, thank you.
At this point, other departments are still under review, and we'll have more comments as we continue.
All right, board members, who wants to talk first? Anyone?
I'm sure you're well aware the Broad Institute is gonna locate here soon. They've already negotiating for the property, I guess, and so forth. And there was an article recently in General about biomedical in Greater Boston, and it said that Burlington is the epicenter to the west, so we're happy to have you coming.
When are we gonna have that parade?
No, really, I mean,
Middlesex County, New Jersey holds nothing over on us. All they get is more money for advertising.
Keep seeing those ads in the newspaper, too.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple questions. Is Kinetic still occupied space there?
No. Right, the building is almost completely vacant, and the tenants that remain are kind of on the way out. So I think one of the other benefits is that, you know, the office environment has had some struggles lately, with the change in work from home, things like that. So I think life science has been a good infill use to keep vibrancy, and keep people actually coming and supporting local retail and businesses, so.
Thank you. Is there, I just got a feeling that the sign for Color Connects is still on. Is there a way you can shut that switch?
Yeah, that will, eventually that will all come off.
But can you turn it off? Can you turn the
There's a
color?
lot of time currently.
I think they still actually,
But once they're out, yeah.
Thank you.
Can you turn it off and bury the sign?
Exactly. I was on the Board of Appeals for that sign.
it's not beloved yet.
Yeah.
That's all you have.
So, just the question about the enclosed, it looks like it's, the enclosed parking is going to be for the loading dock. Is there any thought on an enclosed area for explosive storage?
absolutely. Well, I'm not sure about the explosive storage component, but we are, so the bottom level of that, of the building today is structured parking. We're actually infilling some of that for storage and control room areas. I think Mike Manship can speak to that, if that's possible, our architect. But
Why not go to, yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mike Manship with Vivo Architecture. The current plan is on that half of the lower level where the parking is, we're going to take that away. We're going to create tenant storage areas, but we're also going to have what are referred to as control rooms, which are where all the hazardous, again, Mark's correct, we're hoping it's not explosive, but chemical storage and waste will be in that room. It'll be a rated, there's two separate rooms down there. It'll be a rated room. We'll also have two separate pH neutralization rooms down there, so all of the waste goes through those rooms before it enters into the sewer system.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So,
Thank you, Bill. Joe, did you have anything?
No, I'm good.
None yet? Good. Okay, so, we're continuing this tonight, correct? Right. I don't really have any additional comments. I'd like to see, the landscaping that staff asked for. Maybe you can show us how that's gonna look next time you come, in July. And you do not yet have a tenant for this space, correct?
That's correct, yep.
Okay. All right,
You want to continue?
I think so.
To continue this matter at the planning board meeting of July 21st, 2022.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we'll see you in a month.
Great. Thank you all, appreciate your time.
All right, board members, did everyone have a chance to read the minutes of May 19th, 2022?
Yes.
Anyone unable to vote on those?
I didn't,
Is everyone else able to vote on them?
What-
It's like meeting minutes that Liz sends to us, we read them, and if there's a problem, we let them know, and if we think they looked good, then we vote yay.
Oh, okay, yay, I
Okay.
read them, I read them every yay.
Okay, all right, so we can vote on that.
Okay, motion made to accept the minutes of May 19, 2022 as amended.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable, you haven't had a
You can
chance to
abstain.
read them, you can abstain.
I did, she emailed me
Yeah,
the
okay,
minutes,
so
if
you read
those are
them.
the
Yes,
minutes we're talking
that's what
about,
we're
yeah,
talking
they
about.
were good.
Okay.
Motion made.
Second? Anyone?
second minutes, with this theory, yes?
No?
A second? Anybody?
Oh, second, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look at,
All those in
let
favor?
them sleep.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. So we have 4 ayes, 2 abstentions, correct? Okay. Okay, a few discussion matters. Staff, do you want to fill everyone in on the assistant planner position?
I mean, Kristen can obviously elaborate, so we, had, on Wednesday, we had 2 kind of second round interviews. And we, through that process, we, have picked one of them. I don't know what stage we're at. Are we allowed to like?
Not yet. I wouldn't
Yeah.
We're
mention
not,
names.
we're not gonna mention names, but, they were successful. Both of them had great qualities. And, you know, they're both great people. And, you know, it was wonderful meeting them. But we kind of, there was one that we're gonna, I think we will be looking to.
Checking references?
Checking
Yeah, is that
references.
where we are?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank
So,
you.
yeah, so last week we did 6 first rounds, we brought back 2, and right now we are, checking references
Yep.
at this point.
Okay.
So so far, so good. Just wanna make sure that they see what we see.
Yes.
And it's been so far so good, and we'll
I
let you
just
know.
want to make sure that the planning board staff is, not the staff, but the members of the board, some of us are involved in that process.
Oh, yes. Well, we were all
Okay.
able to attend.
Yeah.
Brenda and I attended the interviews,
Good, thank you.
so, and they were both very, very impressive candidates, so I think it was good that we had 2 really good options. The zoning bylaw submission.
Just a second, Madam Chair,
Sorry.
I know it was a town meeting when there's approval of an additional headcount here. What's the status with that?
Of what?
Additional
The
headcount?
the other open position.
Oh, the other position was approved by town meeting. It doesn't go into effect officially until our new budget, which is July 1.
Thank you.
We will be, as you guys know, to build a team, you want to get your teammates in and see where, you know, where so if we have the person we hope we can get in, it's very clear kind of the areas of expertise we need to hire for that position. But we will be putting that out shortly and hope to hire sometime in July, but certainly won't be on board immediately.
Thank you.
Okay. So groundwater separation,
So just an update, and what I actually do need for you guys to vote kind of on a thumbs up, thumbs down, you don't need to take it too much of an official vote, other than the zoning bylaw submission deadline is June 28th, which is coming up. The groundwater separation bylaw was continued off this past town meeting. We do intend to resubmit that, so that we'll come back to this board. We'll be talking about it with the stormwater updates. And the second thing that there has been some discussion among this board as well as the other land use boards is, as well as the MBTA communities, is bringing something forward for multifamily housing. So that is in some ways formed better in certain areas and not as well in others, but we do intend to try to get something in for discussion, to start discussion. We may not make September, we may go to January, but at least you'll probably see us submit something. Is that the final version? We'll see.
okay.
But we'll be submitting something to figure out where we are.
Can that include the Middlesex Turnpike Mall Road? Because I was on those meetings as well with Melissa's initiative, and all that was housing as well. So it's MBTA, it's Middlesex, it's, you know,
Yeah,
the one
so,
we had with
and
the
that's why
town
I'm kind of
center.
saying the cake is at different levels of baked for certain areas, and that one's probably a little bit less.
Speaking
but-
of housing, what do I have to do for this board?
I'll help.
But I'm on vacation, am I missing anything? You're all set.
enjoy
Don't
vacation.
worry, go enjoy.
But anyway, so yes, we can include that, and so what I just want confirmation from this board is we intend to submit some version of those 2 things for that deadline. So, and just like, if you guys are,
When is the MBTA things finalized? I know there was comments.
they're
from
still taking,
towns.
yeah, there's, actually I spoke with an attorney who was here yesterday for the small cell meeting we had.
It's gonna be bad as hell.
And they're still taking comments from like MMA and
He likes the fast.
Participate.
it's supposed to be June. and I don't,
If I just.
yeah, so, we're not sure, so therefore I would expect some dates to get pushed out,
I know, but we're gonna be in
we are
Italy, so we
supposed to
can't
comply with MBTA by 2023. Which does come up on us, so, anyway, so if anyone is opposed to us doing that, please let us know, otherwise we will be submitting versions of those things, and for groundwater, clearly it's more formed, but multifamily housing, if we can move pieces of it forward.
A quick overall statement, it would be nice if articles submitted by the planning board were actually approved, who actually voted positively by the planning board.
Yes, it would.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we should be getting involved a little early, is what I'm saying, Kristen.
Right.
So that then we don't have a reason to vote against.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's been
Is that what
commented
would
to
be
me, what is going on?
Right.
I mean, the planning board submits the article and tells town meeting not to vote for it.
Right. Yeah, good point.
That way we keep them on their toes.
Yes.
No, I was just gonna say, this just general, probably doesn't even belong here, but I don't understand. We have the building 19 site, 19 and a half, right near the center of town. You could walk if you were a senior citizen. You know, I don't understand why that hasn't been considered. There's nobody around
Considered for what?
for senior housing. It would be perfect.
It would have been if we bought it at the time, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been, but we
Yeah, it
didn't.
would have been perfect.
Well, actually, I mean, at the planning board at the time submitted a letter to
Said we
Board of
should
Selectmen
buy it for
asking them
that
to
reason.
consider buying it
Yeah,
for,
we
and
did.
that
Well,
was, yeah.
that's about, I'm usually 3 years later.
Yeah, yeah.
But they declined.
That's what it was exactly.
We did, but the select board declined to take that matter up, so they never brought it to town meeting.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Big mistake, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So, we're looking to do a retreat in August?
I just threw out August because
Okay.
we're not gonna have a week, the meeting of the 4th of July week. And August 4th would be our normal first Thursday. And if you do first and third Thursdays. And so it's just in our schedule, and we're open to options. We just threw it out there to have a starting point of discussion. And the one thing I was just telling Liz, so, and Joe, I think you probably were involved in the selectmen retreat, sometimes had a facilitator. And I think I don't know, it might be helpful.
Sure.
Excellent. It was
to just get
yeah.
someone in
it
kind
was
of
a
just
much
neutral.
better process when you had a professional facilitator do it.
Let's do it, because we've never done it that way before. Let's give it a try. August 4th works for me. Everybody else can get back to staff.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, if that works, we'll march toward that and try to figure out what,
Our August meeting is 2 weeks after that, the date.
yeah, our August meeting is 2 weeks after that. So that would be, it's just that window that we're
Sure.
usually here.
So what's our August date meeting again?
It'd be the 18th.
August
18th.
18th?
Okay.
August 4th, we would be looking at the,
And August 4th,
Retreat.
you're looking for a retreat.
So the APA Planning
Yeah,
Board membership.
obviously.
You wanna-
so the chairman had asked, she said, can members be, could planning board members, do we have money in the budget to have them be members of APA? I knew they had a planning board membership, and we have done it in the past, we haven't for a while.
That's where you get that little magazine.
Yeah, and we just looked it up, and it's $121, and we definitely have it in the budget if you
Do you need us
guys
to
are.
vote, or should we just tell you to do it?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure enough of you wanted to, if one of you said only, Brenda clearly wants to do it, so.
So $121 for all of us?
For all of
For
us.
all of you.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
okay. Let's
so
try
that's
that.
something.
Paul, pick up the tab.
And then we can do it in this budget season, so that was.
21.
And then there's 24 Terry Ave. We had a site walk today. Member Mpemba, Member Gaffney, Member Covino, and I were there. And would you like to summarize? Or no, okay.
You can
Okay.
summarize and
Well,
I'll add.
it's a little difficult. What we did see on the site that made sense is that they had staked out where the sidewalk would go, which was exactly where we expected it would go. What we are struggling with is that they had also staked out where the parking lot would go for 3 additional parking spaces. There was some confusion at first as to what that was for, because it was our understanding back when we permitted that, and it was held in reserve, that those would be for parking cars. During the conversation, it sounded more like they wanted to use that for loading and unloading of trucks, which we would not want to see on that particular street because it is so close to the residences. So I think this is something that's gonna take some working out. Member Mbta had an idea that I was very open to, which was to, instead of reducing that green space so dramatically and putting parking in, to allow for on-street parallel parking, which would achieve more than one purpose. It would hopefully act as a traffic calming measure. It would act as a buffer for people who are walking on the sidewalk, because people do tend to go through that little intersection pretty quickly. So I think that's something that we have to talk about with the applicant, and personally, I think we need to spend a little bit more time considering the need and how, is this a need or is this a want? And I'd like to hear from the other members that were there where they stand.
No, I think Barbara actually had basically relayed my things with
No, my sign in this, because this was before me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I actually, it was a day that there were many cars. It turned out when I left, they had a barbecue planned, so I can imagine a lot of people were there that day for the, and some out of state plates, so it was probably.
Is that today?
Yeah, they had, and I actually, when I pulled into right where they had a pile of pallets, which I think we can communicate to them that they really shouldn't have the pallets stacked outside, and they said it was there short-term, which I drive by there all the time, and they've been there for quite a way. So maybe a condition is to not have pallets stacked up around side. And one of the pile of pallets was taking up a parking space. So, that's one space, and that, for the 3 that they needed.
So did he have to use the parking space to maneuver to get the parking?
The pallets were in the parking space when I showed up, yep. And he asked me to move because he needs a truck to get in and get the pallets out from where they were stacked. Yeah, so there were a lot of good conversations, and particularly about loading the trucks where they wanted the parking spaces, and alternatives that we proposed, and putting some of the placards where they have designated spots maybe there as well, but only for the people that didn't show up today, so they're probably not going to show up quite regularly. So a lot of discussion on that. Again, I think Chairman got around the money of need versus want. And the next door neighbor there is going to be sold, and I think there's an opportunity to either work with them on additional spaces if they need it over down near Iron Mountain, or maybe even if it's being sold, take a bit of that property and just add it to theirs for additional parking if they need it so bad.
The other guy has to agree to it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But the other guys, and typically, they're pretty friendly neighbors all around. So I think there's opportunity. We just talked about the married here to say, can you use somebody else's parking?
Right.
So it's a pretty standard business arrangement.
But you can't require it.
Exactly right. But in the times that they need it, for the times they say they have special occasions a couple times a year, it wasn't, you always have those conditions like we're trying to figure out. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
And actually, one
My
of,
2 cents.
yes,
Right now, the property is underparked according to zoning. So they have less parking than we require. If I'm an independent small businessman and I'm trying to go by the letter of the law, I'm going to say, why can't, you told me I have to have this many parking spaces. I don't. Why can't I add 3 more?
right, and think that was the conversation that we had when we permitted this and when we allowed them to have the parking spots in reserve.
Irregardless of that, Madam Chair, the zoning bylaw says you must have X amount of parking spaces. They have less than that
Oh, I know, I understand that. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. But they are held in reserve, and what I'm concerned about and what I want to think about and contemplate a little bit more is why now? Is there truly a need for these spaces? Or is it just that because the sidewalk is being built right now, it is more cost-effective to do all the work at once? I'm sure it is, but that's not actually an appropriate reason for adding parking when we discussed at the time that there was not a need for that parking. If there is now a need for the parking, that's different than if it's just a convenience factor or a savings, a cost savings factor. I'm also concerned to see an abundance of individually marked parking spaces, because I think that does contribute to the problem. If someone arrives at work and there are 4 or 5 or more spaces available, but they can't park in them because they're designated for somebody else, that causes a parking problem. And there were, I don't know, I didn't count them, but probably easily a dozen spaces with individual names on them. So that caused me concern, and I wonder how much that's contributing to the problem.
Well, and just to add to that, my understanding is that that type of an arrangement would have to have been approved by this board on a site plan. Right? If you're gonna designate spots, then you're gonna, so they're illegally designated now, and if there's a problem, that's certainly contributing to it.
I just don't understand if our zoning bylaw says you have to have 25 parking spaces and I only have 22, why I can't have 25?
Well,
The bylaw says that.
well, so the reality is, when we gave them an addition that we didn't need to give them,
Okay, maybe you're.
we considered the impact on the abutting conservation land and the open space in the center of town, the green space in the center of town. We considered all that. They asked us to hold 3 spots in reserve. I don't see that anything's changed from the time they asked us to hold 3 spots in reserve.
I think we suggested they hold the 3 spots in reserve because they wanted all of them.
Right.
And then to come back and.
So,
Well, what's gonna happen-
and I don't think
what's gonna
anything's
happen,
changed
Joe,
since
is
then.
They're not gonna build a sidewalk either. right?
They have to build the
They're
sidewalk.
not gonna build a sidewalk until we come to some conclusion on the parking spots. 'Cause they're
I
not
think
gonna
we're
do-
going to come to a conclusion on this parking, but I don't think it's we won't build the sidewalk unless you give us the
No,
parking.
no,
They
no,
have
I'm
to
not
build the
sa- I'm not
sidewalk.
saying that. I'm
Okay,
saying,
that's
what I'm
fine, okay.
saying is that they want to do everything at once.
Sure. Right.
If they're doing,
So
yes.
they're not gonna build the sidewalk tomorrow,
No,
if we're gonna tell them in a month what.
right,
Right.
right. But if
So we probably
somehow,
should tell them sooner rather than later, and I thought that when we left, we had said, well, why don't you put the spots on the inside parking spaces?
Right.
And take those 3 cars and put them out here.
yes, that was, but that was a site walk. It's not where we decide anything.
I understand, but we
And all the
left
members
them-
weren't there.
The people at the sidewalk, other than Joe, because Joe had left
Right.
early, had seemed to indicate to them that it was a good idea to.
It was preferable to having trucks there, obviously, because we don't want trucks loading and unloading there. And I'm not saying that that's impossible. I'm just saying I think we should just take a little time to make sure that there's an actual need for the spaces, and also to consider whether or not there is a way to give this business the spaces they're looking for without completely sacrificing all of the green space. There might be a better solution.
Okay, just be aware that I was, yes, that they're not going to do until we tell them the whole
Right, I
plan,
know.
they're not gonna do part of it.
What I'm suggesting is that we wait until our next meeting, not indefinitely. So,
Yeah, I'm just gonna add that, I did a little homework on this, and where they said they need that addition for, if you look on their website, there's actually a gym down there. So what they needed for expanding their business is not necessarily the case of that. So, I bring that into case
expanded
too.
part of the building is a gym?
So,
Oh.
when they're talking about the expansion of that, I'm saying, well, you got that extra space for what you said you needed for, and it turns out that now it's for a little different use. And so I kind of look at all that and say,
The addition includes a gym?
Yeah, there's,
I don't
yeah,
think-
there's a big meeting room up top and there's a gym down at the bottom, so, you know,
Which is why they can't load over there, isn't it?
Again, the
you know,
need
they
versus
can't put-
want
they can't put two
kind
over
of
there, so-
thing. Okay. So all I'm suggesting is that we take a little time to consider options and talk it over with staff offline and see if we can come up with a solution that doesn't completely obliterate all of the green space.
Okay.
So that's all I'm asking for. We do not have any correspondence. Reports from subcommittees, I think I already told you about Sculpture Park. Is there anybody who has other reports from subcommittees?
I do.
Bill?
Recreation Commission was very busy last night. We had Mr. Capola come in and talk about the, I forget how you mentioned it, but the 225th anniversary for Burlington. Talked about a couple other things, you know, the 76, so it's going to be 2024, 25, 26, a couple things going on. He said he was looking for the Recreation Commission to do some things. I kind of caught wind that there might be some planning board type activity there. He didn't come out and say that, but they're looking for handicap.
What activity for what?
Well, for the 225th, they're looking to put handicap parking, a spot at the museum.
Oh,
They're looking to put a shed at the West School and a driveway to get into it. So
yeah,
things
that they
like
got
that.
approved. They got money approved for that at town meeting.
Okay,
We
but is
have
there
been-
anything that we need to do from a
And we
planning
will,
board?
the
West
West
School, yes.
The West School will need to come before the.
Okay,
board,
so
yep.
just kind of give you a heads up on that type of thing. Just in general, they're looking at a potential cricket field at Mitre Field.
Oh.
And they are looking to put a potential mural on the theater building up in Windmere.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
and they requested that rec be invited to any pickleball conversations with the folks at Network Drive.
Which we have an update.
Ah, you have an
Oh.
update, okay, excellent.
Well, not,
So-
we've given Billy update for the rest of the.
So, I actually did have, a conversation with Rob Lavoisier, on the 14th. He wanted to, kind of let us into some ideas if they were gonna add some amenity space. They were asking, their second, kind of ask was, you know, he basically wants to know how to permit things, so he said, you know, we were looking to do a pickleball court, one pickleball court. I said, how convenient. So I said, you know, this is something that the rec department and the planning department, we've been, you know, planning board's been talking about, you know, if you really create amenity, if you guys could do that for the town, and it would obviously be an amenity for your employees there, obviously, but on, you know, nights and weekends, like, you know, if it could be shared or used, and I gave him Brendan Egan's information, and so, that, you know, I made that connection, and we'll definitely follow up on it, but it's looking
Excellent.
good going forward.
I think one probably won't do it. I know I talked 8, which was, it's probably a big number, but, you know, we can probably get somewhere in the middle. But what's happening is, there's Lifetime's right there, and my brother actually was in a tournament down in North Carolina that was at Lifetime. And I heard that Lifetime's involved in the pro pickleball tour, and there is such a thing. Yeah, and so there might be a connection between Lifetime and, you know, Network Drive, and maybe have the Boston Open or something here with, you know, indoor, outdoor type activities. Very exciting. But yeah, if they're up for it, I think we could probably go and have it lit.
Oh,
You know?
yeah, and they were, he was looking to do one. I said,
You can't do one.
you can't just do one
Can't do one.
pickleball.
You can't just do 2. It's actually, for a tennis court, you can actually flip it and you can do 4. So that's why it's not a big
You
area.
can do 4 in one tennis?
Oh, yep, you
I
just
know you
go
can
on
do
inside and go 1, 2, 3, 4, yep.
Oh.
Yep, that's why we have assignments. We have 1 tennis court and there's 4 of them, and
Oh, okay.
pickleball's in there. So basically, think of assignments with the 2 tennis courts down there, you can do 8. It's not a huge area.
Wow.
Considering 4 buildings, 2 parking garages, you know, that type of thing. Kind of small compared to the big picture.
Cool.
Thank you, staff.
Okay, anyone else with committee reports?
Transportation Committee, just anybody who really wants to, the MBTA is going to listen to the loudest wheel that squeaks, and they have when is that date? I don't remember.
I think it's on
20-something.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I believe it is on Wednesday. It's gonna be on the town calendar. Jen's gonna make sure it's up there tomorrow.
Because once those bus routes change,
They're
they're
gone.
gonna stay
And
changed.
the 354 was huge, eh?
Well, I'm just gonna tell you, my boyfriend's a bus driver, and the people love that route.
Yeah, the
Coming
354.
from Burlington, it's a direct route,
Right downtown
it's
crossing.
express, they can do it, and they love it. So I don't know why we would stop something that people in the town love.
Yeah,
Why?
they love the 354.
Because they can just park and go direct, they don't have to drive, it takes cars off the road.
Is there not enough ridership?
Right.
Is that
I
why?
don't- we
why
don't-
you would stop that.
I don't
Well, let's get
know.
on the call there with Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that they will be able to answer that at the
why,
at the
yeah.
meeting. I know it's something that Rick Parker has been very active in as well, with why can't
Yeah,
I
my
think
wife
of
used to
where
take
Rick
the
Parker-
354
Chamber,
straight in.
thank you, Ernie.
And
Chamber.
and the only reason why the MBTA is looking to cut routes is they don't have bus drivers.
Ah.
Oh,
So that's the
It's
real
not
reason, it's
ridership.
not really
Oh.
trying to probably, you know, if you're not using it, because Burlington uses that.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
that for a fact, people take that route and it goes right in town. And it's only gonna jam back up the highways, and I've been traveling in Boston, and there's a lot of cars on the road.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's coming back.
It's
The
already
traffic is
back.
back,
It's
I
all the
think.
way back.
It's back
Yeah.
already,
It
I
is.
can assure you.
Yep,
Okay.
no. Are you talking transportation? Oh, wait, I have transportation, just really fast.
Okay, yep.
So transportation, just, the South Bedford, Cambridge Street intersection in Woburn.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yes.
I had like a 45-person DOT
Wow.
WebEx meeting on that.
Great.
Was, you know, was it Tom Hayes? No, it was myself, and anyway, it were like, the whole screen, it was like, I've never had so many DOT people in one meeting in my life. But anyway, that's, get moving,
Wow.
finally. It's been, I feel like it's been like a year of wait.
Yeah.
25% or anything?
So it is at 25%, but of course, you know, after a couple of years, it's, oh, well, you didn't have a Form 6 or 2 or 7 or 8 or, so there's all this information we just need to, not we, but I mean, there's some information on economic development, what we've done on that side of town that we need to submit, but it's moving. I can't
fantastic.
give you any indication of how fast, but it's moving forward, so.
It's the intersection where, you know, down there.
Follow South Bedford Street all the way
What do you call that?
It's in Woburn.
Pancake, what's the?
Hammond Castle, or Hammond Castle.
Yeah, what's the restaurant?
Place.
What's the?
Escadrille.
No,
Oh,
the
that's
Big
good
Fits.
down there,
Where
yeah,
Big
Big Fits. Oh, yeah,
The
You know how we
intersection
come
right
from,
past that.
you know,
okay.
South Bedford.
South
Yeah.
Bedford down into, onto
Yeah,
Cambridge
so,
Street. but-
yeah, so anyway, the,
South Bedford, really.
it was good news to get
That's
that
fantastic.
mobilizing again, and then go on to ZBRC.
ZBRC signage subcommittee is kind of really waiting to find out what's going on with, because in order to, we decided to work on signs in the town center first. It's been quite challenging, 2.5 years or whatever so far. But the fact of the matter is, who is going to review and approve the design or aesthetics of the sign? And since the 3A committee is gone, they can't. So it's kind of at an impasse right now.
Down
And I
to
think
3A
if
anyway.
we wait too long or whatever, the ZBRC will go to the general bylaw committee and say, why don't you guys submit a bylaw? And it'll completely bypass us, so,
Yep.
whatever.
What are you asking us to do?
I'm not asking, I'm
Oh,
just.
what are they
putting out a
asking
word
us
of
to do?
caution now, that if you really want to make sure that town center committee stays, then we should lobby the selectmen, we should. I know that there was some noise about it maybe being too many committees for a developer to go through, but we did do it before.
It makes it more efficient because it,
Yeah, we don't have
it's
to-
here and then
right,
we end up
right.
doing what we were trying to
But I
do
thought-
tonight.
I
you know,
agree,
yeah.
I agree. If we
But
can
that's
settle most of it before it gets here.
Right.
But that's
And
a
that's
town
why I think
center
we had
committee,
three
not just a
planning board
sign
members on
committee.
it.
That's what he's, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
'cause
so-
you're advocating for a town center committee, not a sign committee.
No.
Yes, but also to review.
To review the
They
sign.
would do sign as part of that, okay.
Or who else, would we set a separate sign?
Yeah, no, that would be crazy.
Yeah, so I do know that our chairman has reached out to the Board of Selectmen, and it just happened to be that week after COVID that we all, the week after COVID, the week after town meeting that we all had COVID. And that didn't work out, but she was trying to schedule something to have it, kind of trying to figure out some sort of joint discussion on this topic as to what our boards are thinking about moving forward. So I think it was to be rescheduled, it just hasn't happened yet.
Good.
Okay.
All done, thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe all done, I don't think so.
I think we're done.
Motion made to adjourn?
That is, I'm not.
Not the town
not to
meeting was an
belabor that, but
incubator.
I think we really need to, guys, Kristen and Liz, if we can really, I don't know if we need to lobby them to get it, or if they just don't want to act, we just do it.
Yeah.
One or the other. I think we really need to get that going.
I think it,
And Bill was the best chair we ever had. I think he should
thank you
be the
very
chair
much, I
again.
agree with that.
About town, you're talking town center?
Yes,
Yeah.
Town Center.
No, I think it added value, I mean, it really got
It
a
has
lot of
a
stuff
lot of
out of the
value.
way, when you came here, it was in.
Yes, it was in different shape, yeah.
I could see that being a benefit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Motion made to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Yeah.
All right.